Karama, Pachanka.
Yes.
How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another Shaw of No Excuses on YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, are still.
Venurian.
And the only one who's not playing Silksong. We're going to bring
Yeah.
you the latest news and games commentary for the week. No, I don't think that the odds of me playing Silksong are quite low because I'm not willing to even boot it up unless I have played through Hollow Knight first, which has not happened yet and would take me a great deal of time that I do not think I have.
You were caught in my my Shaw cannon, where I threw Silksong to everybody on my friends list who did not have it.
Yeah.
We're here to bring you the latest news and games commentary for the week, or, well, I mean, like, maybe I would attempt to do so. I don't know about the others, since they appear to have been captured by the only thing that is of significance in their lives right now. That is to say, Silksong. But if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com. You can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in the Discord server, which you can get to by clicking on the link provided in the show description on the show archive on YouTube.
Yes. Also, if my audio sounds a bit out of whack, I've had to turn on the air conditioning in this room, and currently I'm still using a window-mounted rattle box because my main air conditioner is broken. So
We are
Yeah.
hearing a little bit of poppy airflow, but you're not unintelligible. You're fine.
yeah, not a whole lot I can do about that, unfortunately, because this is a Queensland spring, and it's like, oh, spring, winter is over. Here you go. Have 35-degree temperatures, just as a baseline.
Yeah.
And it usually makes that transition over the space of a week at most.
Right. So this week, we'll be bringing you. Well, me and Fern have done one thing this week. I have done a
Yes.
lot of one thing this week and cut out all the free time that was not work time to throw as much of my face into it as possible. And maybe Vol has non-Ren related news.
Maybe. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks on my end. It's been a lot of hard work and stuff because there's just a whole bunch of stuff that's needed to happen all at the same time, as things usually do.
Indeed.
I'm just glad because this coming weekend is Drunk Cowboys #3, and I've actually got day shift for that, so I'm not going to get completely wiped out by it, which is nice. So yeah, as for nerdy stuff this week, or weeks, I suppose. The biggest things are, of course, Silksong, which I'll kind of overlap with Ari on, and the other thing is I stuck a toe back into No Man's Sky with their new big patch.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people
How are
talking.
they funding all of this?
I have no idea.
It did
Not a
make
clue.
it did make a lot of money, but don't they? They're
Are
not.
they closeting themselves in a tiny studio and living on secondhand sandwiches too?
I think so.
I mean, I know the team wasn't big that made No Man's Sky, but I don't think it was. It was super tiny. I thought it was like 12 people.
Yeah, it's not
How
big.
No Man's Sky came out a long time ago. Those people have been drawing salaries somehow.
Yeah. And as far as I know, there's no way to buy cosmetics or much in the way of cosmetics or anything. Can you buy Quicksilver? Hang on.
It could be.
No Man's Sky is a 2016 game. It came out 9th of August 2016.
It could be a Hollow Knight sales situation where most of their sales for the game have actually come in post launch window, just through word of
Yeah.
mouth.
I mean, I think that that's true that they came in post launch window because the launch bombed, but I don't think that it's something that has really generated much buzz, unless it's just like we're unplugged from the streaming content creator world and it's gone through a few phases of real popularity there or something.
It's possible.
Possibly.
The wind outside has blown
Because-
open my door. Y'all keep going.
Realistically, nobody talks about it. Like
Yeah,
occasionally they'll release a content patch and then people will talk about it for like half an hour and then everybody forgets that it exists until the next content patch. So And it's the sort of game that gets kept alive by a really sort of a hard core of people who just play every aspect of it all the time without ceasing, and those people do not generate money, and
No.
a lot of them are too autistic to even generate buzz.
Yes. Although every now and again something will catch on the mainstream where it's like one of the big community build projects or something like that. So yeah, but I have no idea how they're funding it. They've got a second game in the works at the moment, Light No Fire, which they kind of announced and then have said nothing else.
I remember that being announced years ago.
When did they announce that? That was 2023, so 2 years ago. And there really has been nothing else since.
They have not breathed a word.
Yeah. But they're keeping a constant stream going of content going into No Man's Sky. And the latest content is fully custom build ships with workable interiors. And everyone is saying, yes, suck it, Star Citizen. Because that was one of Star Citizen's big claim to fame is, fully transmittable worlds, walkable ships, no load screens, all of that. And No Man's Sky did it first.
Star
least in a-
Citizen's still ostensibly under development.
Oh, yeah. And it does have its tisms. It has a very hardcore, dedicated / sunk cost fan base. So what is there is actually playable now. I say playable because it is buggy as all hell. But you can, fire the game up, walk around, do missions, earn money, buy bigger ships, so on, so on, so on. But yeah, how long you're going to be able to do that before the server explodes is unknown. That
This
said,
doesn't sound like much of a product to me.
I
yeah, at the moment, I think they're in the kind of ramping up the quantity of content because they've been doing a whole lot of background building of tools and stuff.
didn't they waste
Well,
a
the thing
colossal
is,
amount of money on like their office decorations and crap for Star Citizen?
Yeah, and buying voice
Quite
actors
famously.
that nobody really cares about.
The thing is, like, do they even know what a viable release product looks like? Or are they
At
just
this
planning to
point,
be in development for the rest of eternity?
I'm gonna say no at this point. Chris Roberts is famous for the scope creep.
There's more creep than scope at this point.
Yeah, it seriously is. So yeah, when No Man's Sky can come in and say, "Oh, here's a free update that basically has one of the big selling points of Star Citizen. Oh, and by the way, you can build your own ship." Then yeah, it's kind of just why bother with Star Citizen at this point?
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything that Star Citizen has really stated that they do that No Man's Sky doesn't at this point.
yeah. It's like No Man's Sky. Even back when I was playing it, back in like what 2020, 2019, something like that, and poking at it, like it seemed like a fairly complete game in that genre at that point. And they've only tacked on like what 5 or 6 giant updates since then.
Yep. Not to mention complete new storylines and overhauls of planets and all that stuff. Like at its core, it's still the same game it originally was. There's just a lot more of it now.
Yeah, like I was and back then I was able to like when we weren't having VR taking priority over controller players and me punching you into oblivion.
Yes,
We could construct
kinda.
bases and build like racetracks for the dumb vehicles and stuff. It was already fairly creative with its building tools on land and a ton, and they'd fixed up the exploration and it had a storyline now in that instead of whatever they sort of had at launch that might have resembled the story if you squinted and were really drunk.
Got like 7 or 8 storylines through it now.
Yeah.
Like you can do the Abyss, you can do the Corrupted Sentinels, you can do Artemis and all of that. Artemis is the original one, and honestly, not very good.
Yeah,
Once you've been through it once, you never want to do it again.
I've been meaning to pick up No Man's Sky again at some point, but it just I have to be in the right mindset for it. Any of
You do.
those those big giant explorables or build 'em ups. I really wanna. I need to be
This
in
is
the
why
right headspace
you
for
go
it.
through like week-long Minecraft phases where you just fanatically play Minecraft for like a week
7 day,
every
yeah,
few
7 day
years.
Minecraft binge is a real thing.
Yeah, like I'll if I get in the mood for a build 'em up, I'll usually stick with it for 1 to 3 weeks and then put them on the shelf again for another year at least, and then I'll pull
Yeah.
them back out.
Right
It
now, they've
might
got a
be able to
community
do
expedition
48 hours
going.
tops.
Yeah, they've got a expedition going at the moment where it'll basically pushes you into the new Corvette system and locks you out of the original ships. So it basically like this is the expedition for the new content. Here is the new content.
I see.
And that's kind of what they do with that. So they'll give you a whole bunch of objectives and things to go off and do and explore and all of that to earn a bunch of rewards and bonuses. That kind of speed runs you through the highlights of the new content. Mostly by just taking away a bunch of the grinding by just giving you the stuff you would normally grind for. So they're only a limited time thing. It's like here is it's just there basically to show off and showcase the new content. It doesn't play particularly nice with VR, unfortunately, with the whole shipbuilding thing. Like in regular game, it zooms out and you can move ship parts around individually, but it doesn't do that in VR. You're still your same schmuck on the ground trying to build a spaceship. It doesn't work so good.
It was
Like it's doable, but yeah.
yeah, I found the VR controls in No Man's Sky to be actually fine for especially the time they came out. And I've heard they've only improved them.
They have
But
improved them. There's also a bunch of mods out there that also improve them a bit more, and they are, from what I can tell, fully compatible with the open universe.
it was
So it's mostly just quality of life stuff.
it was a real trip getting into your cockpit and having to lower and raise it manually, the hatch over your head, and and fly the little ship around. I remember doing that a lot.
Yeah, the biggest bug I've run into with VR has actually been with that. It's if you're in your Corvette and you land on a space station, every now and again it'll just land the ship, but it won't activate the release controls, so you're kind of stuck in the chair.
Yeah. Uh, the the primary bugs in VR are less bugs and more the game wasn't built with VR in mind initially. So if your system doesn't have a GPU that can load in all the stuff it needs to in time, fun stuff starts happening.
Yeah, they
Like
fixed a lot of that, but there's still plenty of it.
yeah, I remember back when I had my weaker card and was doing VR. Like I think I was doing it on a 1080. It it would
It struggled.
well, it loaded everything fine. The problem was when you got to user created stuff on the world, it
Oh
would
yeah.
it would have a lot of trouble rendering very much of it at
I'll
once,
take that.
and could just let the floor drop out from underneath you while you're in the middle of building stuff.
Yeah, like it still does that with the really big mega builds. Like there's showcases of people showing off their big mega builds, and there's a lot of pop in on that, and that's even without VR on top of it.
Yeah, it's
But
just
for average gameplay, they've improved it a lot.
something like the little home base from before that I had on that one planet. Well,
Yeah,
I say little. To me, it was absolutely effing massive. But
perspective is a bit of a trip when you get into VR on these things.
yeah, but
Like I did not realize these things were so big. Which is actually really cool when you're looking up at your spaceship. It's good. Just always a nice feeling.
mhm.
So yeah, that's that. I haven't done a whole lot else. It's been working, doing other stuff. Um, had a look at V Rising. They've done big updates. Walked around, explored a bit, and got my ass caved in by Simon Belmont because he's just there now. So yeah, I mean it's a cool crossover. You're a game about playing as a vampire and building castles. It's like catnip to a Belmont, I suppose. But yeah, The fact that he's just a wandering boss is quite unpleasant.
Why did I just suddenly die?
I don't know. Why did you just suddenly die?
I don't know. I just teleported to a waypoint and I
Game
died.
said no.
Yeah, I'm not. My body isn't even here. I just arrived at the teleport point, and I've got an empty health bar, and it says "Down will revive at the nearest recently visited teleport waypoint."
Okay. Where I'm still seeing you in. Oh, nope. There you go. Just teleported over there.
I just respawned.
That's really weird.
Guess your world just hates me.
Maybe
guess.
you teleported on top of a passing Millicene. And
I think probably what happens is there was probably some lag when I teleported because I teleported while flying, and maybe I ran out of stam before it decided where I was and fell to my
Yep.
death while it was loading.
Yep, that might do it. So, hang on, just rearranging things. 1 second.
Yeah, it seemed like you
Alright.
must have been cajoled by friends or family into playing V Rising because I saw you playing a lot at the start of the week.
Yeah, I was, and it's always a good time. I love that game. Some of the later bosses do tend to get a bit cave your face in-y.
It's
Especially
kind
there's
of
a
their
couple
job,
of
isn't it?
it kind of is. And there's a few points I find where there's kind of a gear drought where the bosses are getting stronger, but your gear is not improving because you don't have the means to actually improve it at that point.
Like everybody attempting to play World of Warcraft at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's the infinite loop of World of Warcraft at the moment. New
Well,
patch, guess what? The gear's useless.
no. World of Warcraft is like broken right now. Like you can't level a new character apparently.
Oh,
Sirith has posted a Bellular video about it, but
that's even worse.
the gear curve is so steep that you can end up like 2 or 3 orders of magnitude of stats away from where you need to be in order to kill normal mobs.
How
I
do
guess
they
that's why
screw
they're
it up
doing
so
it.
bad?
They're doing a squish in the next expansion, probably because of that.
Yeah.
Fern, come try and summon the Aquabus. I wonder if you can call it. I know you can send it off at the point I'm at.
Where you is?
Where's the point that you're at?
The one on the
Oh,
map.
you're over there. Okay, the harbour.
The 2 on the map.
Yeah, actually, that's worth noting. The new WoW expansion was announced a few weeks ago, and
Was a
there is
calamity.
yeah,
Like every aspect of it was done as wrong as could possibly be done, irrespective of the content.
yeah. It's like, oh, when there's no new class, there's 1/3 of a new class. There's a whole bunch of retcons. I think apparently they're retconning out a good chunk of Shadowlands. There's like an allied race which probably should have shown up in the previous expansion, and that's your lot.
You stay on the Aquabus, Fern, all the way if you get a Chivo.
I think I've already got that. Well, actually, there's one for every Aquabus, isn't there?
I don't know. I'm just looking for something to put nice scenery in the background while we talk. Continue on the WoW talk.
Oh. So, whenever YouTube deigns to actually show me something WoW related, they've done something to the algorithm again, and it's just showing me utter crap constantly now.
Oh, it loves WoW top 10 lists, I find. That's the only WoW content it filters to me.
Why top 10 list?
They're clickbait, so they algorithm catnip.
Yeah. But yeah, even the biggest WoW shills like Taliesin, I think that's how you pronounce his name. They for the longest time were always just the pure positive shills, and even they are struggling to say something nice about it.
Yeah, well, they've written themselves into a corner. Like they've used every idea that they have. They don't have anybody who's got any writing talent at all, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know where they want to be. Like Metzen might have a rough outline of what he wants, but the sort of the even if the sort of like overarching scale not is okay, the meta or the macro scale and micro scale are both bad. Like just bad, flatly bad.
And honestly, actually looking through the last expansion through War Within, Metzen might be there and he has some interesting ideas, but it still has the writing committee in there.
He's
The
also
utterly incompetent writing committee.
Yes.
him and that writing committee have also been infected by California brain.
Yeah,
Yes, they
they
have.
think only in terms of the way Californians think. They can't relate to human beings.
Yeah, so you've got checklist people.
Yeah, which is why you've got, you know, a black disabled butch woman being the only character of significance in the current expansion. The objective is to check those boxes. It's not because there's anything interesting about her as a character. No, she's a horrible character. She just gets attributed every victory while doing nothing but being a barbarian, basically.
Yeah, because she checks a lot of boxes.
Because that's the thing, right? Like, the circumstances of your birth are the origin of virtue for Californians.
Yeah, it's just so bad. Even putting that aside, it's just like, where are you going with this story? Like, you had a villain.
They're
and
bad.
this is the
They're
most
bad at.
expansion.
Well, I think that's actually it. I think that's actually the root of it. I don't think that that's like one facet of the problem. I think that the sorts of thought patterns that engenders is like the fundamental issue, because they see everything in a very like predetermined way. That's the thing about the libshit way of thinking, is that it's incredibly fatalistic. Everything about you is determined by the circumstances of your birth, and this propagates throughout their story's entire metaphysic. Like, everything has to be this way because it has to be this way. If you've got a particular character who has particular traits, they're obliged to act in certain ways that conform with the worldview that they're coming into the writing with. They don't ever seek to challenge anything. They don't ever seek to overturn anything. Like, in as much as they are incredibly focused on like deconstructing the things that they think are traditional, the way that they have done that is by basically supplanting it with an even more dogmatic orthodoxy about the way things have to be written. And so they do every story the same way. And that's why people are bored, because every story is functionally the same, which is with the characters swapped out. They can't
That's
tell a new story because that would disagree with their orthodoxy.
Yeah, I think of it in much simpler terms, in that the way the California brain makes people write, because it's so focused on the circumstances of birth of an individual. All their stories are about who somebody is rather than what somebody does.
You know,
And
nobody really does anything like, and you can't have character development, right? If actions don't matter, a character can't change at all.
and a character can't be flawed as well. And that's kind of part of the big thing with girl boss characters is like they're insufferable bitches at the start of the game. They never learn anything because they're never wrong, and they're still insufferable bitches at the end.
Well, the purpose of character flaws is to create a friction that causes change. Like, because a character flaw is something that will perturb either that character or the people around that character. But no, everybody has to be, operating in this frictionless system, because
Yeah.
you can't change. You don't have that sort of ability. You either are just like you're either the goody or the baddie in their worldview. There's no way to change. You're stuck with the circumstances of either your original sin or your intrinsic nobility, and there's no middle ground.
Yeah. Especially when you've got traits like being insufferable and condescending are not seen as negative things. Anyway, that's a tangent. But
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I watched the trailer for the new one,
I watched it.
and it doesn't look like a World of Warcraft trailer.
No, it doesn't.
It could be Elder Scrolls. It could be Baldur's Gate. It could be any generic fantasy, because there's nothing World of Warcraft about it. It's not like an action-packed comic book. It's like this unbelievably generic fantasy setting where unbelievably generic fantasy stuff happens, and they confront head-on something that I think was a terrible idea, where they changed the light from being a religion with a god to a philosophy. If it's a philosophy you can't pray to it, it doesn't make sense. And they've just avoided talking about that, and it was fine. But as soon as you put it front and center, everybody who watches that sequence understands it like a primal level that it doesn't make sense to pray to the light. There's nobody listening. The light is like praying to the air or the fire or the water.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. Even like primitive religions, like the Maori don't pray to the water. They pray to Tangaroa, their pagan god of the sea, because that's a person. It's got an individualism to it. So that person might listen to you. Maybe could happen in their pagan religion. Nobody prays to the light. They've established repeatedly that the light is just an elemental force, and there are, a hierarchy of beings who operate within the light, but they aren't the light. They are beings with their own particular agendas, but those aren't the ones prayed to. Like Liadrin in that cinematic isn't asking a Naru for a favor or anything. She's just sort of vaguely praying to lightness.
Yeah.
Just like oh well, I might as well pray to a candle or a light bulb.
Yeah, like before, the light wasn't exactly a person, but it was an entity with a will of some description.
It was sort of implied to be a kind of ineffable will that was like, oh well, there's probably some kind of god behind this, but it's too bright for us to see, type of thing.
Yeah.
Like there is a will, a fundamental goodness about this that animates this sort of like karmic end of the karmic axis type of thing, where like there's good stuff on this end of the karmic axis and bad stuff on that end of the karmic axis, and the light is up the good end, but their aggression about dismantling the idea of good and evil and rendering the light down into just one of the many elemental forces has made the whole religion of the light that pervades that setting completely nonsensical. Because I mean, if nobody except the player knew that the light was just an element, maybe it would work. But then they added all that knowledge in universe as well. So now it makes zero sense.
I do appreciate you bringing up the contrast of good and evil, where they've been deconstructing it there, but on the other hand, they've just been enforcing it in the Alliance versus Horde thing as well. Incidentally, we're probably going to kill another Horde leader.
I don't think that they know what to do with the Alliance and Horde either. I think that they, at this point, are just desperate for them to amalgamate into one indistinct morass of generic persons. The libshit ideal, all people are exactly the same. There is no diversity of culture that impacts the way people think or anything like that. No, everybody is just the same because they have, Horde values and Alliance values. You don't have, like, the sort of alliances of necessity that they used to have, right? The Forsaken were supposed to always be the black sheep of the Horde. They joined because nobody else would have them, and that they were sort of like a people in a desperate situation without anybody to help them, and the Horde took pity on them and let them into the fold, and some of the Forsaken embraced that wholeheartedly, and others just waited for the opportunity to seize power, like Putris, back in the days where they actually wrote the Forsaken as an independent group. But all this stuff is sort of withered away now.
Yeah. Actually, if the last few expansions are any indication, basically they've just treated the Horde as a villain grab bag. But
or a total non-entity. Sometimes a total non-entity. Because the only thing that they really value, the only thing they really value is Thrall. I mean, if you look at Shadowlands, what did they do with Bane Bloodhoof during that expansion?
Oh, he sat on a step the entire expansion and did nothing.
I was say, didn't he?
The one person who has got real, like, he's got a real investment in the afterlife because he was thrust into the position of leadership due to the death of his venerable and beloved father.
Plus, that's kind of how Tauran shamanism works.
Yeah. It's ancestor worship. Like, all of the shamanism is fundamentally ancestor worship until they tried to get rid of that as well and make it about the elements. But
well, originally there was elements of that. They had the
elements don't.
Had below them.
The elements don't really become like the center stage thing until Cataclysm.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
they kind of had a whole bunch
anything
of
about
through under shamanism.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember about like vanilla shaman class quests, like the elements were involved, but it was all about, oh well, there's a spirit that is associated with the elements, is associated with this totem, and you need that type of thing. It wasn't. It was not. Oh well, yeah. This is just like Magecraft, except more noble savage type.
Yeah. Now it's elements, and that's it.
It's,
Every now
it's
and
this,
again,
this
they might
this
remember the lower or the spirits or something like that, but it's just elements.
I mean, I know I talked about this a little bit last show while Fern wasn't here about sort of like some of the things that really invest me in a setting, and one of those things is the setting sort of like its color and like diversity of metaphysic and that type of thing. Like it has to make sense, but it also has to be lively, and they've kind of just in the Warcraft universe they've just flattened it out. All of the sort of everybody had their own approach to the world in the original conception of it. Like the way the Tauren lived was very different to the way the orcs lived, was very different to the way the humans lived, was different to the way elves lived, and all of them had their own take on the cosmology and exactly how it is that you interact with the natural world and with other races and with the and with technology. They all had an opinion on this, but now everybody shares the exact same metaphysic. Everything is, oh
If
well,
they
it's
have
the
any opinion
elements
at
or
all.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they for those parts of the story that have even given consideration to the fundamental laws of the way the world works. But like, no, the mages use the elements, and the warlocks use the elements, and the shamans use the elements, and the druids use the elements because everything's now an element.
Yeah.
And so now everybody is operating off the exact same worldview, and therefore there's just no real color to it.
Yeah, this is a big reason I totally disconnected way forever ago with WoW's story is how this impacts the characters, and that the original conception of the characters and the ideas that they were built on in my head were formed with these ideas that their culture was a key part of them, and they just turned that
Yeah, like
culture into a
World of
the generic gray blob.
World of Warcraft was about a culture clash. That was the whole point. Like once they decided after Warcraft 2 that the orcs weren't just like always chaotic evil, and they started really making them into like wanting to position them as an alternative protagonist rather than just the bad guys. Like then the story becomes about culture shock, basically. How do these people with incredibly diverse points of view cooperate to the extent that they can, and then where does that break down? What are their non-negotiables? Why is it that they can't coexist and you have to have one lot eventually living in this place and one lot living in that place because their worldviews are just too different? And that was the way that that's the way that it worked. Like the sort of the crowning achievement of Warcraft 3 was everybody in the very end comes together for at least 5 minutes in order to stop Archimonde, and then it's K and everybody goes home. They don't try and all live in the same place because they can't. And World of Warcraft was set in this world where everything is just kind of in tension because everybody knows war could break out at any second because nobody sees the world the same way as anybody else. Everybody's got their own idea about the way things should be, and only geographical separation is preventing things from devolving into a world war.
Yeah,
And then they just sort of usher that off stage.
even if you go back to, and while vanilla quest writing wasn't particularly deep or anything, but all the little quests were very rooted in each race having its own culture be front and center in the questing experience, and setting up what that race believes and what they do and how they operate. And
Yep. And whenever the two factions shared a border on those zones, that became kind of the central point of that zone.
or even in between factions of the or races of the same faction, like there would be culture bumps between
Yep.
the different races.
Yeah, like I remember the orcs kind of having this whole culture bump with the warlocks still kind of trying to do their own thing.
You know, there was a lot with the humans and night elves.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and this is where we come back to California Brain ultimately, though, right? Because one of the core tenets of California Brain is that pointing out differences is bigotry.
Yes.
So you
Can't
can't tell a
celebrate
story.
differences.
You can't still tell a story about a culture clash because it implies that these two groups of people are different. The only story you're allowed to tell is a story of coming together and people realizing that actually they're not different at all.
as long as they're all being
And
led by the fat black disabled trans woman.
But they've told this story in every single expansion, and now the setting is completely flat.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time there's something interesting, that thing is a difference. It's something that makes one person or group different from another person or group, and the only story you're allowed to tell is how that difference doesn't matter. And therefore, by the end of the expansion, the difference disappears, and eventually everything is just completely leveled.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that they have managed to cultivate an environment where it is basically impossible to write an interesting story. That they've actually taken any useful plot hooks and carefully filed down their sharpness so that you can't do anything with them.
It's reminds me of something I was saying either last week or the week before, and that a lot of people's fondness for the storytelling in the world of WoW and Warcraft in general comes from kind of that experience you get after flipping through the player handbook or the monster manual from Dungeons and Dragons. There's enough there that you can form a picture in your head what's going on, and it sets up some clear rules and distinctions between the different races and things in the world. But you're allowed it left a lot of wiggle room for you to fill it in yourself. And they have just basically taken whiteout over huge sections of that player handbook and monster manual and just said nope, 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 nope. Any differences between all this junk, we have to just turn it into gray paste. And we're going to hyper focus on hard narrative, character centric storytelling when that is not at all appropriate for this particular medium. Especially when it's not revolving around the player, because we have a person playing the video game that is not the character we're telling a story about.
I think tabletop is a genre that has suffered really badly under the yoke of
California
Oh,
Dream.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
if you go and read the new book for Starfinder 2 and read the races, there is zero spice or anything in there. It's very bland. It's like, this is what this race is all about. They have no conflict.
Didn't they erase like stat differences in D&D years ago?
Yeah,
Oh.
racial stats. Everyone has racial perks instead now, which I don't mind so much, but it's one of those cases like they did something fun, but for a dumb reason.
Well, they're afraid of the idea of demerits. Like nobody's allowed to be worse than anybody else at anything.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually being better than somebody else will eventually be erased, in my opinion, as well. I don't think that they'll be able to stomach that indefinitely if the current trajectory continues. But the thing is, I don't think the current trajectory is sustainable at all, so it probably won't.
No.
Yeah.
It's already starting to unravel.
Yeah, I think
the popularity of D&D is like well in the toilet now compared to where it used to be.
Everyone's
like,
basically just gone anywhere else.
They don't perceive it because you can play D&D without following Wizards rules, which was always the strength of the product, right? Even if they hate that part of it. But
yeah, it's in all tabletop groups will eventually devolve into, or the DM will eventually get to a point where they're looking at the rule book and going, "All right, that's stupid. All right, nah, that ain't gonna work."
There is that alternative route, right? Like, because there's basically two routes, and everybody's gone one of them. Each of them have their own merits. Either the very freeform one where D&D ends up being a base for you to create your own game system to allow you to do the things that you want, that you think are important to a game experience, which is something that you'll usually work on in conjunction with your regular group or whatever. And then the other route is where you go back to like D&D first or AD&D or something, where it was like they had a rule for literally everything, and the people who are much more gameplay inclined tend to go that route. Because there's actually a huge amount of creative freedom there, because the sheer number of rules means that you can actually do a lot of different things that are just sort of glossed over by more modern rule sets. And so it's a different type of creativity.
It's not as popular as whatever current set is at any given time, but a lot of people, at least that I used to play with, if they do still play D&D, prefer to play with either really old school second E rules or 3.5 rules, and will not touch the modern stuff because it just
like I played
it whitewashes too much.
5e and a fair bit of 5e, and
ironically enough, pretty much all of them at least once, haven't you, Fern?
Everything except 4th, and I don't want to touch 4th.
Well, fourth is incomprehensible simply because I couldn't work out what it was trying to be.
I think my only engagement with fourth was Neverwinter Nights 1. I think that was fourth, or was that 3.5?
Yeah,
No, Neverwinter Nights 1 was
Three.
3-0.
Hang on.
3-0.
No,
Yeah.
3.0, yeah. I
That's
think
why
I
it's got
did
so much
play a
jank in
game
it.
that and fourth. But yeah, 5e, it's very simple. It's very quick, easy to pick up. It's kind of like Baby's first rule set, and it's a great introduction. Ironically
for
enough, though, what it
Fisher-Price.
lacks is diversity. Like, you build a warrior, for example, and yeah, you're going to have your subclass, and that'll give you a bit of difference from everyone else. But if you and say another player pick the same warrior with the same subclass, you're basically going to be the same character mechanically.
I genuinely felt like 4th was like a product refresh exercise. It was nothing to do with the integrity of the game.
It
Because
was,
like my favorite thing in 5e was to scrabble around on the internet looking for a PDF of some barely ever heard of rulebook with some interesting character concept in it that I desperately wanted to pick through. It wasn't.
Yep.
yeah.
It was not about the core rules. I didn't give a shit about the core rules.
Yeah, the thing with fourth edition that I got a vibe from real hard, and why I did not touch it at all and dropped D&D entirely once it came out, switched to other systems, or just still use 3.5, was that it felt like it was doing the opposite. Instead of video games cribbing their ideas from tabletop and their setting and setup, they inverted it. It was like they were trying to be a video game on a tabletop.
That is quite literally exactly what they were doing.
And I'm like, that's not what we're here for.
And unfortunately, 5e2 is basically trying to do that again.
Yeah,
But that's why I say it's a product exercise, because they think that I feel like they think that the commercially successful thing to do is to burn it to the ground on the regular. Like if you look at like, I don't GURPS hasn't changed in like 20 years something.
It really
And
hasn't.
everybody who loves GURPS is still using GURPS.
yeah.
GURPS is so simple and bare bones, though. You can basically do anything you want with it.
Yeah, and that's why they love it. And so people will stick by it and keep using it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's to bring it back to WoW, where I was kind of going with this, and it took a second for me to sort my thoughts out. Like, WoW was working from like the 2.E, the second E to 3.5 framework for world building here. When you've got a player character that it needs to just be a member of one of these races in these factions in these groups, and they were working like they were building from a player handbook from that era. But now it's like you're building from the 4E or 5E2, I guess, era, where
Well, it's more like every player has to be like Traveler from Genshin or something.
yeah,
They can't really ever belong anywhere. But they also kind of have to belong everywhere.
yeah,
Yes.
they've hyper focused on you being the champion of some other NPC rather than just, I'm this one random night elf girl. I'm this one undead who from Undercity. I'm this one Tauren from the plains, and making my way as an adventurer, because they've doubled.
I remember when I started in vanilla, people felt like a lot of people, it wasn't by any means universal, but a lot of people felt a genuine sense of loyalty to the race and faction that they picked for their first character. Like that would be the capital city that they used. That would be the place that they hung out in their downtime. That would be the place where they gathered all their basics, because it was their quote home unquote.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I remember I was very much that way with the Night Elves for the Alliance, and for the stint I played Horde, I was very much so that way with the Undead. But
Even though Undercity was
all of my Undercity was awesome. You shut up. I spent all of my time on Forsaken characters for like the first 5 years that I played the game, sort of thing. And I knew every nook and cranny in Undercity. I spent all my time in Undercity. I would resent having to go to Orgrimmar for things. And my friend would be like, "Yeah, but we need a group, man. we need to go to BRD." And I'm like, "But I don't want to go and shout at Orgrimmar."
I'm going to stand here with these malicious elevators.
yeah,
The elevators were awesome. Always full of skeletons. Perfectly.
Always full of skeletons, and they would see you coming and slam the door closed every time.
I just remember doing laps around the itty bitty circle bank and the big outer bank or the big outer circle a lot.
So many laps. Like I lapped there
So
for
many laps.
ages when I first got my dread steed. At
Yeah.
long last.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was great for that.
So yeah.
Now
But
we did not have a whole lot of loyal to our capital city as night elves because Darnassus was in the middle of bum f nowhere.
yeah.
There
But
was no reason to
nowadays
go there.
it's like your plot relevance is you are the champion of someone. It's like it's DC Universe Online, it's Dawn Trail, it's Traherne, it's that.
Well, yeah,
You don't matter.
we could have survived while making the player character more central to the story and becoming more of an entity. What they have trouble with is they Traherne it basically. They make you a minion to some other pre-established lore character and give you functionally no agency, and your choice of race and class and gender just doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. Like even back in the day, there was elements of this, and part of it was because they wanted to try and keep a overarching narrative going. So you had like, oh, the Lich King is dead. Bolvar killed him, and I guess you were there too. And that's kind of how a lot of fights did. Is like such and such character did it, and there was you're kind of there.
Yeah,
You may have been there. Adventurers might be mentioned.
if like Cthulhu, I think canonically at the time they might have retconned it, was killed by brave heroes of whatever faction you were playing as.
It's like was it Cenarian Circle back then? I don't even remember.
Yes, Narian Cycle.
Yeah, brave heroes aiding the Cenarian Circle, but that's about as far as the player character getting a direct mention ever went.
Well, now it's lol not dead, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah, they can't keep anybody dead to save their life.
Yes, except for Arthur's, who is now double dead or super dead or something.
Oh, but that
I
still
don't even
means
know what to call it.
that still means they had to dredge him back out to kill him again.
They did.
We have literally time traveled in that universe to undead people. That doesn't make them not dead anymore, not make them join the Forsaken.
Yes. Anyway, we kind of diverged from I don't know where from my week, but
Lol, Darnassus. I remember the first guild I spent a long time in was a guild called Los Benditos Locos on Barthalos, and they had this thing that they would do at the end of every, because we were like mostly a PvP guild who raided on the side, and world PvP at that. And so every time we got done doing some world PvP raid, like destroying Theramore or destroying Stormwind or whatever, they would set up this thing, and this happened usually at the end of raids as well. The mages would set up this thing that they called the Bandito Portal, which was just the mage summoning every portal on the same spot. And all of the mages were in collusion about this, so there was no way to port out to where you wanted to go, and it was considered bad taste to anyway. Everybody had to take the Bandito Portal and end up in one of the capital cities.
Oh yeah, Portal
you know
Roulette.
which one do you get though?
Yeah, we had a group of mages that did something almost identical. One of my guilds.
It was a popular pastime in vanilla.
Yeah, just and
Yeah.
the
You got Thunder Bluff.
the people that got stuck in Darnassus, like, well, so you guys have 15 minutes. Hang on, it's gonna be a lot of boats in Flight Pass.
Good times. What's this? It's a purple thing.
Going to eat the purple berries.
So yeah,
But anyway, I'll end my week there then. Because that
Alright.
that tangented.
I need to think of something to say about my week. Which didn't contain much of anything.
That doesn't
took
involve
up
just
most of my
screaming.
time.
You mean?
Yeah, I did a lot of 12-hour shifts and things this week, so I didn't have much time for things. Let us see. Okay, so for Blue Archive, there was no new event this week, but it wasn't that nothing happened, I suppose. Now, I was asleep during most of this, but something happened that has come to be known as the Koyuki incident.
Okay.
And a lot of people aren't sure exactly. Like, most people seem to be pretty happy about this, generally speaking. But basically, what happened is that someone hacked the Blue Archive servers. But
Right.
the person that hacked the Blue Archive servers did no conventional damage. Normally, what people are concerned about is people stealing details or destroying accounts or whatever, etc., or people hack things for personal gain in terms of in-game stuff or something like that. That's what you normally expect, right? The Koyuki incident was not like that. The Koyuki incident was this person hacked the game, did no permanent damage whatsoever, but just filled the game with Koyuki. Everybody's cafe was full of Koyuki. All of the sound effects were replaced by Koyuki giggling. Her face was just plastered over every like banner in that there was like a a slot in JPEG for promotional materials would just have Koyuki on it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was just the thing is Koyuki is sort of like a notorious troublemaker of Millennium, who is generally not that harmful, but just causes mischief. Probably
Perfectly in
harmful from
character
Yuka's
then.
point of view, but at any rate, yeah. So this hack, basically the net result of this hack in the end was that everybody got a big pile of apologems and freebies, and Nexon was able to close the security hole, and everybody went home happy afterwards.
Okay.
Why are Blue
Well,
Archive players just
so
Blue
Blue
Archive?
Archive player?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a special breed, that's for sure.
Oh no!
So,
Oh no!
this is the Koyuki incident, which is interesting.
That is just something special, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't happen in other games. Just Blue Archive. The hacker breaks in, doesn't steal anything, doesn't cause any damage. Just
Just
results
trolls.
in John Nixon, as we call him, having to give everybody apologems. So yeah, I mean, I guess fantastic from my point of view. I got some free pyros. Didn't have to do
Yep.
anything for it. But yeah. Anyway, so there's that.
Thank you, random Koyuki troll.
they
You are a legend.
they's dedicated to their waifus in Blue Archive.
Dedicated is not the word I'd use.
It's the word I'm going to use because I don't like the other words that I might use to describe them.
Fair call.
Oh my goodness, I'm trying to possess this bird, but it keeps kicking me out of its soul.
It doesn't want you
Please.
in there. Wipe your dirty feet.
Let me in, I'm going to die. Okay. Finally did after 3 attempts.
Actually, I have a gun for this.
Like
But
what?
yeah, he can fly. I haven't leveled
Oh,
up
right.
either. I'll get 1 shot, so I can't do that. Yeah, anyway, so it was interesting times in Blue Archive. In Genshin, nothing happened this week. Everybody's waiting for the deployment of the next version, and I talked extensively about its features in the last show that Fern wasn't here for.
Yep.
Suffice to say, Fern needs to make sure he logs on during the anniversary because there will be another 5-star selector.
Yes. I don't know who I'm going to
So-
pick, but we'll see who's on the banner.
All the standards.
It's a hot topic right now, because of everybody's sort of weighing up. Do I want to try and push for C7, or do I want to increase the size of my roster?
Yeah.
So
Do you fill out your collection, or do you get your 4th or 5th day to get closer to C7?
yeah, so C7 has become an important thing. I presume you haven't been paying attention to the news, Fern.
No, I have not.
Yeah, so C7 is now going to do something. And what's more, it's going to be retroactive for everybody who's ever pulled a C7 on a 5-star. They're all going to get refunded for it. And what they're giving you for C7 now is a masterless Stellar Fortuna, which is basically a substitute item you get in exchange for not being able to fill out a 5-star constellation, and instead you can bestow one of these things on a character to raise them from level 90 to 95. So
All right.
increasing all their base stats and giving them a slight amplification to reactions as well.
And for a lot of characters, base stats are a big deal.
Yeah, there's currently everybody's furiously trying to do the theory crafting to try and estimate what the effects on each character are, relatively speaking, for base stats.
We all know they're going to just max out Bennett. That's what it's all going to come down to.
No, they're gonna, well, Bennett and Nouvelette. Because people just give things to Nouvelette regardless.
Yeah,
But,
we have a meta entirely based around bloom reactions. Better get the full raw offensive hydro damage dealer into the meta, who could just use it because he's Nouvelette.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Master Style Fortuna is a big hot topic right now. People trying to decide what to do, whether they're going to push for it or not. But there's not a popular verdict on what the best route is for most people, especially because, like, for a lot of people, Standard Banner is not really worth that much. Standard Banner is mostly valuable to newer players, generally speaking, with less developed rosters. And so for a lot of players, it becomes a real question. It's like, do I try and add some utility to one of these not that useful characters? Or do I just, take the long game view and attempt to generate some value later down the line? But yeah, and then of course that is in conjunction with the new constellation system, where you have to complete tasks, weekly tasks 8 times in 12 weeks, I think is the current format that people are discussing. And having done so, you will be rewarded with 1 constellation 1 time for a character on a list of your choice. So, yeah, there's a lot of people debating, oh, well, I mean, these characters, most of the characters on the list are kind of old. The utility for a lot of them is a little bit questionable for their constellations, or I could just use this to push another standard and increase the chance that my 50/50s are going to cough up a Masterless Stellar Fortuna for me. So yeah, that's another hot topic. I'm pretty sure that RSTL is going to go for Kokomi and Nailu, because this is going to run 4 times during the year.
Yeah,
but you can only pick a constellation for a character once.
Yeah, I am sinking myself into the make Kokomi great again tier and Nailu for the meta.
Yeah,
for a while.
I've been thinking about that. Like, I didn't just like completely arbitrarily and autistically decide I'm going to play a Nailu team the way RSTL did.
Well, it started as a meme. Like, I was just going to get Nailu and call it done and take it how it goes. It's not my fault they decided that's going to be the first meta coming out of the new zone.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. Like, I don't want to be bloomless, but I don't particularly want to go all in on Nailu anyway, because I'd rather watch as of a great distance what RSTL is doing. By the way, they've nerfed bloom self damage on the test realms, the CBT, because too many people were killing themselves with the buffed lunar damage. Because bloom damage to you is calculated based on the damage you do to opponents. It's not some other calculation.
Yeah,
it's just straight up 5%. But since bloom now hits for 100k,
yeah, you thought Kokomi was optional before. Oh no. Like, the whole reason Kokomi is best in slot as the driver for the bloom team is because you'd kill yourself.
Yeah, so they're nerfing it down to 2% on CBT at present to try and make running a bloom team a bit more survivable in a tight space.
For people that have to use Barbara can actually do it. Or Barbara.
Yeah, so yeah, that's happening. I don't particularly want to run a Nailu team, but I'm thinking I'm thinking maybe I might pull for Neffa and run the Neffa version of the Bloom team, which is Neffa eats the blooms instead of popping them and uses them as ammunition for bursting. But in all likelihood, that means that she's also going to be dependent on Lauma as a support partner, which means I'd need to pull Lauma in the first patch and then just like not use her for anything because I don't have any other components to work with.
You got a Barbara.
So, technically speaking, yes, I indeed have a Barbara.
I mean, you're gonna have to hump them blooms to get as many procs as you can, but you got an Ahita and a Lauma, you got a Barbara. Who can we slot in as the other Hydro?
Right, yeah. I need I need to use more Yas, obviously. But
This is true.
You haven't even leveled your Yo-Yo.
That's true. My Yaya's level 40.
Finally leveled my Yo-Yo.
Yeah, I'm a bit thin on the my Hydro applicators are a little bit thin on the ground. I haven't looked at what Ino's kit is like. There are people saying it was a complete joke, but I don't know if that'll hold till launch. But yeah, so Neffa's going to be a 6.1 character though, so that's a whole version that I'll have a character that's kind of dubious. But from the other point of view, you could say, well, I've got a whole version to build Lauma to my satisfaction before actually having to use her for anything. But yeah, because I had, for the past several versions of the game, going back to when I came back, I intended to pull for Columbina when she became available, and she's central to the plot, so probably going to be quite powerful, and is almost certainly going to be Hydro. So I would say that she's probably going to be calibrated to work with both Luna Charged and Luna Bloom, and who knows what else.
There is another caveat in playing any kind of Bloom team. You have to farm a set, or the other set is like useless.
Yeah, they're a lot like that though.
I just finished doing that, and it took me 2.5 months.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm toying with the idea. I haven't decided on it yet because my main targets for this expansion are Columbina, Alice, and Nicole, and that basically leaves me with no relevant entries to the meta until like late 6.3 or something. So that would end up becoming quite rough, probably, because the power creep is continuing apace as at present state. Because I don't even know if you can call it power creep. It's sort of like the design philosophy has taken another left turn in Nod Cry to teams that are all basically focused on output through one venue. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I can't really give a lot of thought to it until we see more numbers of the way things are put together, and a bit more structure of how the various characters are going to work and interact with each other. But yeah, so there's not much going on at the moment, but I think the current battle pass closes in like a day and a half or something. So it must be next week that they're going to roll out the old new version, new territory, new game features, etc., etc. We'll finally be able to claim 40 resin worth of stuff without needing to turn it into whatever the permanent resin thing was called. I can't remember. With having to craft, and yeah, unfortunately they still haven't removed the day restriction on farming for some reason. That seems totally unfathomable to me.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, lots and lots of features. Refer to previous show if you want to hear any commentary on those. Star Rail is I haven't even touched anything except dailies and Star Rail. I haven't had time, so I haven't sat down and done the bartending thing.
Yeah, you will
I was
like
too busy
it.
doing that in my own kitchen. Like, I was tinkering with some things, right? Because my uncle gave me a batch brewed boutique premix of espresso martini, and espresso martini is my favorite cocktail. But I don't know who would drink this stuff. Man, it was so weird. it's billed as an espresso martini, but it does not really taste like one. It tastes more like a dessert cocktail. They've clearly used syrups to increase the sweetness even further, and I don't really know why you would do that, since most espresso cocktails are prepared with Kahlua, right, which has already got quite a bit of sweetness to it. So
It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
adding like more syrup is totally overdoing it. And for some reason they used raspberry flavored vodka as the base instead of regular vodka, which just the added scent just makes the sweetness seem even more overpowering. So basically you can't taste anything but sugar from this stuff.
Ugh.
Like it's like, why would you buy this? The whole point of buying a premix is if the composition is too complicated for you to prepare in your kitchen without buying tiny amounts of a whole bunch of different things. But it's like, to me, it's so sugary that it's just flatly inferior to a totally conventional 3-part espresso martini. So, yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
why you would buy such a product.
It's espresso martini. It's supposed to taste like espresso and martini.
It does not
But-
taste anything at all like espresso. Like you can smell the coffee on it, if only barely, but it doesn't taste anything like an espresso martini. Like if you think that if you think that an espresso martini is too like too bitter for you or something, or too strong, well, all you need to do is like adulterate it with maybe 15 or 20 mils of Irish cream or something, and then it just basically becomes slightly alcoholic coffee milk, and it's very, very palatable even to non-drinkers. So there are solutions which are better than just making the thing taste like a sugar rush.
Yeah, the sweetest I think I'd go on something like that would be tiramisu Baileys, which, if you haven't tried it, is godly. But it's also very sweet, but still coffee. It tastes like a tiramisu, just liquid.
You can figure
Yeah,
out how
I
to
think
get
with
over here in
the
front of there's a chest.
specialty. Pardon?
I was telling friend there's a chest over here if he can figure out how to get over here.
Okay, hang
Yeah,
on.
but
I'll grab the
I
skillers.
think most of the specialty Baileys are better drunk neat rather than used as ingredients because the flavors are a little bit complex. But
yeah, they tend not to mix very well.
the base Bailey's Irish cream is very good for just sort of slightly sweetening and softening certain things and giving them a bit more body. Like if you think that I don't know who thinks espresso martinis are too runny, but if you want it to give it a bit more heft, you can put a bit of Bailey's in it, and that will sweeten it up a little bit and make it much more drinkable. But if you're really unlucky, then your brain will just say, "Oh, this is too moreish. I will have another 4 of those," and then you'll end up on the floor. But
Yep.
But yeah, because you can't forget that every one of these things has at least 50 mils of vodka in it, so you can only drink so many. But yeah, that's what I was doing instead of playing bartending in Star Rail. So yeah,
You will like the event. I liked it because it was character focused, and there's a lot of good character moments in there. But yeah, I won't spoil any of it for you. It is really short though. I was able to cram all of it in before Skong time.
that's been the problem really with Star Rail lately, is that the paucity of content, and I don't know what they're doing with all that time. They've got a big wad of cash and a lot of staff on board, but what exactly are they doing right now? I hope they're working on something big and awesome. That would be great. We don't know though.
I think that big awesome thing is, what was it? Astra thing. Hang on. I gotta look the name up again because I have just completely brain farted on the thing.
Well, in theory, there is such thing as allocation of resources based on any individual product's revenue. I don't think they kidnapped it all for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe.
Nexus Anima. No, I
Nexus
don't think that's the
Anima,
case.
there you
That's not how MiHoYo is organized. Every time MiHoYo launches a new game, they'll pick like a couple of elites from an established team, and then they'll splinter that off with a whole new set of staff, and then the development and resourcing of it will become totally independent.
That's why the approaches to each of the games is so radically different. Why Genshin is hyper conservative in anything it does, and they get very complacent, and why Star Rail
ZZZ is suicidally fast at moving.
Yeah, ZZZs they're the youngest team in terms of age, and they are workaholics.
They're going to be the most prematurely aged team shortly.
Yeah, probably if you see them, they got more wrinkles than the 40, 50-year-olds at their company. But yeah, that's why they're so fast, and they have a and respond to player feedback quickly. They're also incentivized because they make the least of all the Hoyo games.
I mean, if you look at the aesthetic of the Nexus anime, it looks like it's aimed at kids, but I don't trust Hoyo. Like, it's somebody's gonna die horribly, and it's gonna end up really dark. It's gonna be like
Yeah.
Digimon Tamers or something in there.
Yeah, it's like it's all happy fun guys. Wisely, I'm on dead.
Well, I mean,
Where
Leon
is my
being dead
innocence
is like
gone?
that's like the sun coming up in the morning.
We-
But
we-
they didn't
Oh,
need to
yeah.
do that to Jury though, you know?
No, they really didn't need to do it to Jury.
That's why you don't let the lame guy write Digimon. Get jury.
You get juried.
But there's not a
Exactly,
lot of common ground, conventionally speaking, between Digimon and Lane.
No, well, there's the internet
No.
being a central focus.
Well, that's about it. It's like the sort of the cyberspace future is about all you've got. Just that's not a sufficient qualifying thing to have on your resume, in my opinion.
I mean,
I wonder if that's how it went though. It's like, oh, you know anything about the internet? Yeah, I wrote a story about the internet once.
I mean, the same kind of deal happened with the guy that wrote the first Digimon movie went off to make Summer Wars.
Yeah, that was a shift.
And no, it was literally the same story. Summer Wars is just the first Digimon movie with him given full creative control.
Every time you say Digimon movie, though, I just think of Shrek.
I mean, it
Yeah.
is when I hear All Star, I don't hear Shrek. I don't see Shrek. I see Digimon.
Yeah, when I hear All Star, I think about Aristeel protesting that Digimon did it first.
Yes.
Well, it did.
It's that the Digimon Stories 3 is looking really good.
Yeah, it's on the list. A lot of stuff is on the list right now. Unfortunately for the world, there's a little bug in the way of the list progressing.
Little bug that wants to get good.
He is in fact instructing me to get good.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Star Rail right now. I don't know where they're putting all the development time because it's definitely not going into the main content. Because if it was, we would be seeing a lot more progress. They're not spitting out much novelty, so they're putting those resources somewhere, and we don't know where. I seriously doubt that they've just considered it. Oh well, this is good enough. We can just dial back to a trickle because they're catching a lot of flack over it. What we do know from the historical stuff that they've discussed is that the IP team have been very deeply involved in this particular development cycle, Amphorius, in terms of like overall direction and the way Star Rail is going to intersect with the other universes in the Hoyoverse generally, and a bunch of other stuff like that. And basically, it seems to me that like they're doing that thing that World of Warcraft did circa Warlords of Draenor, where they've suddenly become obsessed with transmedia synergy. Hopefully they can do a better job of it than Blizzard did.
Yeah.
But they want to sort of blur the line in between all of like the external promotional materials and the internal to the game things, and embedding things like the animated sequences into the game was sort of the first step of that. But they've said that they've got a whole bunch of other sort of related media projects they want to sort of graft into the game as a way of blurring the line between it being an anime and it being a video game type of thing, where you've got sort of contributions of different types of animation, and how well they do that and how much it turns out to be, oh well, you've just bled more video game out of the video game. This wasn't really what we asked for. It all remains to be seen.
The fine-on animation was cool, but was it worth the amount of money it costs? Because
we don't know how much it costs. Like, I don't know what they pay their freaking slave animators in China.
Yeah.
How much?
And the thing is that particular model that's heavily used for Honkai Impact 3rd. Like, heavily used. more frequently, I would say. And generally speaking, we've been seeing more of that in Genshin as
Oh.
well. They've outsourced to a bunch of different animators that haven't historically worked on things, just for more experimental styles and that. And did you ever end up watching the one about the heavenly principles? Because it's not really spoilers, but it does seem like it's kind of important to
Oh
get to
no,
know
I
these
haven't gone
individuals.
back and caught up on all the bits they put out on the various media feeds.
Well, I don't know that I'm caught up either, but as far as that one is concerned, it seems like it might be kind of key because we don't really have a lot of exposure to these characters generally. This is sort of like the first time that we've really met the heavenly principles face to face, apart from, the presumption that the unknown god at the start of the game is one of them, the one in charge of space,
Mm.
since that's pretty much Kiara's portfolio when she becomes a Hersher in Honkai Impact 3rd. Although they call it Void there, she becomes the Hersher of Void, but everywhere they use Void, it seems to be a stand-in for space, as opposed to time, let's say, rather than being, Void intrinsically. And all of her abilities are based around creating solids in space or tunneling through space or whatever, as opposed to, making voids, which is what you would associate with Void, which has sort of always been more Welt's thing,
Yeah,
I guess, as Hersher of Reason.
yeah. Anytime you say void, I'm getting, because of my current brain right now, I'm getting quotes from the Pale King playing in my head.
No cost too great.
No mind to think, no will to break, no voice to cry suffering.
Anyway, yeah, so I hope they're actually cooking something good. That would be nice, but I don't know how long it'll be till we find out. The most recent sort of media drop was relatively uninteresting, but the naming convention seemed like a tease, to be honest. What was it? YouTube, why you betray me in my time of greatest need?
Because it's YouTube.
And all of the other times as well, regardless of whether or not they were my greatest need. You betrayed me in all of those too.
Yes.
Because we have to muck with the search algorithm so you can't find anything, even if you put what you're looking for, the exact title in quotation marks. Because my algorithm.
Right. So they,
Is
they
that what you
named the most recent little advert thing for Sarija false constants, which is an interesting naming convention because it doesn't really have anything to do with the content. But what it brings to everybody's mind is the fact that the character Constance is like one of the most rumored to be the unknown, unhinted at, unannounced character for 3.8. That nobody can work out exactly who could possibly fill that role because there's nobody standing on stage presently to slot into that. Because everybody's like, oh well, there's Evernight and there's Permansatera and there's Cyrene and there's all of these characters, but there's not enough to fill it out all the way to 3.8, which means we're missing a person, and everybody thinks it's going to be Constance. And now they've used this slightly unusual English word, and it's not a localization because that's what it's called in the Japanese channel as well, in English. So yeah, a lot of people thinking that. I'm sort of like excited and dreading it because if I look at the ledger of what teams exist, what metas are currently in use and currently in abeyance, the one that is the most in abeyance right now is Super Break. And Super Break is also the only team that has no prospective premium replacement for the now sub-premium Ruan Mei. Because now she's a shop character. She's not a banner character. That puts her in the crosshairs, basically, to be replaced by a banner character. And I really don't want to have to pull another support for Super Break, but I'm so invested in Super Break now that I'll feel like I have to if they do release one, which is how they get you, you know.
Yep.
And Constance has definitely got fire overtones, and practically every character released for Super Break is a fire character. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, ZZZ. I have done the main story.
I haven't done
Just the
anything.
main story. So, I don't think I will say anything particularly much. There's no reason that I would be wall-bangingly upset about it, but I personally didn't feel like it was I also didn't feel like it was like, oh, this is so peak. Like, I didn't come out of it like amped or anything, but I didn't come out of it disappointed either.
Sounds like a 0.2 story, all right.
Yeah, well, the main impression that I had was that you could have done something and you kind of didn't. I felt like there was. I feel like in point two, it's going to always be a bit of a. It's usually, and maybe not a damp squib, but not a peak chapter. But I felt like they didn't really build anything I would call momentum either. It was more of almost of just a resolution of current affairs, and then very little. They didn't give very much of a push to the swing at the end. I didn't feel there is some, and although it feels a little bit rammed in some ways, it's like you'll know it when you see it. It's super conspicuous, the thing that they do to set up the next chapter. You like it, long before it becomes clear that's what they're doing. You will immediately peg that in your brain. That, oh, this is a setup for later. This is not actually relevant to the current circumstance at all. We're doing something else that's for later. That will immediately trigger in your brain. But it's not very. I feel like it could have been done in a more compelling way. It doesn't feel like it's to do with your current concerns or linked to them at all. It feels like a lot of things get rounded off nicely, but not a lot of. I like to see a few more plot hooks than this dangled, to be totally honest. There are a few in there, but I feel like I want more. I want more of them. I feel like I'm just sort of being led up the garden path at this point. There's not enough progress on the myth arc. But this is my perennial complaint about ZZZ, right? Like, I've always felt the myth arc just moves with a little bit too much laziness. It's always just a little bit slower than I want. They always act like they're going to reveal, and then they don't reveal anything. And yeah, it's just become a bit frustrating at this point. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with what they do. The story is told. There is a couple of reasonably hype moments. I felt like the bosses were a little bit of a wash. Like, they didn't feel they felt a lot less like a real fight in some ways than previous ones have. I don't really know why. It just felt that way. It felt a little bit too. I think even accusing it of feeling scripted is kind of wrong. You'll see what I mean when you do it. Like, you don't expect much from story fights. They're not supposed to be like nail biters or anything. But this one felt kind of artificial in some respects. It wasn't a squash fight. I know you hate those.
Yep.
But it also wasn't. It didn't feel very legit either. You still have to press buttons.
Yeah. Okay. The only question I want answered before I go into it. What is the feat level going into it?
It is way less feet than the promotional materials, but you'll still be seeing feet.
Because
You spend a lot of time piloting Obol Squad characters throughout. More so than you spend piloting anybody else, to be honest. And one of the characters who's going to be in your party a lot is Seed. So you're going to see some feet. Every time you hit that alt button, more feet.
Feet people. This is my
Feet
personal message to you. If you
Stop.
open your drawer, probably in one of them, might be a few years old, but I know at some point you owned socks.
You don't want to know what they've been using those socks for.
Look,
No.
that there's probably an unopened pack of socks, given that you love feet so much. Turn your
Yeah, I'm trying to do it too far back, and it's
no
keep
no
hitting the roof.
you're really overcomplicating it. Close the gate and jump over the door and touch the ball.
Was it too painful for you to watch, Ari?
Literally, just come talk to the ball.
Yeah, no, it was more. I kept hitting the roof and couldn't get the jump.
Oh, okay.
Doing
Because
too far back.
you kept opening and closing the gate like you're trying to solve a puzzle here. I'm like, no, you close the gate, you jump over and talk to the ball.
The gate just does that on its own.
Okay.
So it's just don't screw up the jump. Don't bang your head on the ceiling.
But yeah, it was okay. They laboured it a few times. I feel in some ways. I haven't done Seed's character story yet. I've heard a lot of people say that it really got them, like they got by it. I don't know what exactly goes on in it.
It would have to sell a feet people character to not feet people.
Well, I guess there's a lot of people who feel a certain kinship with her already because she's incredibly autismal. But yeah, the main story is okay. I don't have any problem with it. There's nothing about it that made me want to, go online and rage post about it or anything. Like that didn't happen.
It wasn't a total ball drop like 3.3 or 5.3 in Genshin.
Yeah, it was okay. They rounded off a little bit of story. One of the sort of threads that's been dangling, just a minor one, not a major one. In a reasonably satisfying and reasonably final manner. I don't feel like there was that much exposed about the broader environment, though. It seemed like it was, I don't know, it felt like it was very, it's not quite self-contained, but I feel like they matched some people on stage and they matched them right off. Like this person feels like they were too purpose-built just to tell the story, like they might not have an existence outside of the story type of thing. Yeah, I know they can't introduce everybody beforehand, but yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. You'll see when you get there. It was enjoyable enough for an evening, but it wasn't as rich as some other ones were. Like I did not feel really compelled by it in the way that sometimes they're capable of accomplishing.
No Brofist
So,
in the
yeah,
robots, or Miyabi being autistic, or Zoo talking to you on the train, and you have to go look up a YouTube video with full transcription.
I feel like it felt a little bit Crisis-Air in some ways.
I see.
It's like, you're expecting me to really, really care for these people I just met, even though on screen we haven't really spent that much time together, and a lot of what's going on doesn't hit quite as hard as it would if I did care about them, type of thing. It's not, the cast isn't so gigantic as for that to be the issue, but you also feel like for instance, it's Obol Squatter at center stage, right? So you've got Orphean Magus, and you've got Seed, and you've got Trigger, and you've got Soldier 11, and they're all there, but it's ultra conspicuous that Soldier 11 says like one word throughout the entire patch, and Trigger says like two, sort of thing. Like they say very little. Like they're obviously being shelved to give more screen time to the other characters, so it kind of doesn't really feel like they're a real squad in some respects. Like it feels a bit odd. It really does, but it's not all the way into like, oh, this is bad territory. It's just like, this was a bit inelegant. There was improvements to be made. But yeah, overall it was okay. I'm not gonna like write a letter of protest or anything like that. I don't think it even really rises to the level of giving coherent feedback on the topic to them in a survey, because it's sort of like a matter of subtlety and preference rather than something that's, oh, well, this is strictly done wrong. But it does feel a little bit askew when you've got, a team of 4 characters who are, 5 characters if you count Margus as separate from Orphe. Um, if you've got, this squad of 5 characters that are really tight knit, but half of them never really say anything, even though they're always together. That's very strange.
Like they knew it would be conspicuous if the whole squad wasn't here, but at the same time they didn't really have anything for several of them to do.
So they're just kind of there.
Yeah, they also sort of they weirdly sent the vibe early on that that the others were going to be more involved, and then they just kind of didn't. Like, there's a hint early on that sort of Trigger is basically over the moon to see Phython again, because she's very, very fond of Phython, as you pick up through her story. But despite her sort of like overt fondness early on, she then just barely bothers to interact with you.
Ah.
Because the story hasn't called for it. So yeah, it's a bit iffy in that regard.
Getting flashbacks to the Vivian video.
Vivian is not in this patch.
No.
Although it was actually a little bit conspicuous that she wasn't mentioned at all, because there is a little there's a part where Belle, in my case, discusses with Margus that, like, just because somebody is associated with the Exaltus doesn't automatically mean they should be vaporized, because there are some people that sort of just get dragged into the cult. And when Margus basically straight up doesn't really believe that's all that relevant, Belle totally neglects to give any examples.
Could be setting up for a character bit later between the two or something.
Maybe. Hard to say. But
yeah, I'll get round to it as soon as the Skong lets me go. The Skong will also.
Do you have any idea how long Skong is going to have a grip on you, though?
Look,
like, you could be down those mines for weeks.
Look, I'm like 21 active hours of the whatever number my Steam says of playtime.
What if it's a 120-hour game?
When you boot the game, it says Act 1 Farloom, and I have not seen an Act 2 screen yet.
It could be a 2-act game. Could be a 4-act play. Could be that Act 2 is DLC.
Look,
I don't know.
The borders of the map expand as new areas are unlocked that make the gray area too big to hold it.
Yeah, so there's no way knowing.
And I know for a fact that the final Citadel area that you're trying to go to at the start of the game is its own map with at least 6 subzones that are as big as a full zone.
They spent 7 years drawing this. Are you going to take 7 years to play it?
We'll get to that.
Anyway, ZZZ is a thing. I haven't played the new event that it started. I think it's just a repeat of Tower Defense, except with new stages and field effects and stuff. I was terrible at it the first time. I'm going to be terrible at it the second time. Maybe I'll wait for Ari to do it and tell me what the solution is. I hate Tower Defense. I'm so bad at it.
I think the solution
so I stopped playing Arc Knights.
I think the solution last time was just target boost forever.
I remember getting a lot of mileage out of a million.
Yeah, and a whole lot of shock boost.
But yeah, anyway. So that's that one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Seed's story. I want to see if it's all it's cracked up to be, because a lot of people said it really got them. Anyway, so that's that one. Wuthering Waves, I have not made much progress on the story. I wanted to sort of like get caught up with what I was where I was, like, instead of having a whole bunch of shrapnel characters that weren't properly built, because the combat isn't quite as much of a walkover as Genshin's. It needs you to actually stay awake. And then I got autistically focused on getting the next rarity up for every one of the echoes in the areas I'd revealed and so on. And I kept finding new autistic things to do. It's sort of like just exploring a new zone in Genshin that you tend to breadcrumb yourself in ways that you'll still keep finding things, but it won't be very constructive in the long run. It is the least efficient way to mow the lawn. And then I went back and tried to do the story and failed miserably because I was not prepared. Basically, the next story area apparently this is constitutively the case throughout the no matter where you are in your account progress, they just put all of the mobs in the next region at sort of like a world level higher than your actual world level to ensure that if you go too far off the beaten path without being prepared, you just get teabagged. So, yeah, it's rough. I engaged in a fight with an elite thinking, oh, I'll just push this over because there's a valuable treasure over here. And it was a minor boss fight. It took quite some time to kill it because it was a good 10 levels higher than me. So, yeah, that was rough.
That's the hill of Cheryl.
Oh, you got it? Yep, got it.
But yeah, I've taken something of a shine to it because it's sort of like the combat is kind of a happy medium between, you know, action game autism and Genshin press button to kill mob. There's a certain amount of wakefulness required without it being like over the moon difficult or requiring a ridiculous amount of precision. So, it's been quite playable and the combat is reasonably satisfying in the overworld. There are some things about it that are stupid and autistic, and I think that it's because they just wait for somebody else to do something and then crib it, which I mean has served them pretty well so far. They've basically got most of the QOL from all of the Hoyo games all baked in because they just, you know, stealing with pride basically. Every time something looks like a good idea, we'll take that.
Even their launcher
Yeah.
looks like the same as a Hoyo one.
Yeah, I'm not using the launcher. I'm launching right out of Steam. But which is, I'm not sure how wise that is, but because it allows Steam to get a toehold on the controller, which is not necessarily a good idea. But yeah, at any rate, it's been a reasonable time. I'm looking forward to making progress in the story though, because the early part of the story is unbelievably dry. Like, I think it's pretty much comparable to Mondstadt in that you just sort of get directed to do things. There is a woeful lack of consistency throughout on the localization though. Like I did one particular side quest which was obviously machine translated.
Eesh.
Well, either machine translated or translated by somebody who just really didn't know how to speak English and just decided to sit there with a Chinese English dictionary picking words.
Yeah,
Everything's just way too literal.
It is a very hyper literal translation, and it's really, oh boy, it's made it rough trying to get into that game.
It runs the gamut, really. They've clearly got multiple different translators involved, and there is no like overarching style sheet guy making sure that they all translate the same kind of way. So like there's like if you just do main scenario, the tone will be relatively consistent along that line. But if you then go off and do a side quest, the translation tone might change completely depending on who was doing the translation. It's really kind of iffy. But yeah. Anyway, the monster collection thing aspect of it has become troublingly addictive, but I have only found one shiny and it was a tortoise. And this is disappointing to me because I don't generally use the tortoise.
That's where you're doing it wrong.
Got a rave.
Mm-hmm. Mitch McConnell's got to get his cocaine boogie down.
Fern probably has no idea what we're talking about, but the
No.
tortoise, when you use the tortoise's active ability, it just kind of raves on the spot.
Is it Ushi?
Kind of reminds me a bit of Ushi. But it does sort of like, and you know, lights appear as well.
Yeah, it's
Just to,
he's not just boogie. He's not the boogie cow. He's like the full party turtle.
He is right. Okay. This is very strange.
Like he is.
it's not a very useful in-game echo, but when you're early on and it's like I don't have a healer, I need to patch myself up a bit. Well, Tortoise has got your back.
Or you know, if you're drugged out of your mind on painkillers and cold medicine, you can just sit there and watch it.
And you did. You sure did. But yeah. So I'll probably keep pushing casually forward with that game. It's not I haven't like I've spent a lot of time in it lately relative to the amount of time I have available, but that was more or less a product of the fact that the other three weren't really doing much of anything. Not that I have decided I'm going to make this the thing. Whoa! Suddenly I'm in a cutscene. What's going on?
I turned the thing on.
Oh, Fern has to play.
Apparently, everything's happening.
Yeah, you got to go Solid
Nothing
Snake
is happening
now.
on my screen. It's just showing me a bunch of vistas.
Yeah, I was standing near Fern, so I saw the. You know where you got to Solid Snake your way past the. Oh, you may not have done this puzzle. Oh no, you've 100% this area. You got to sneak past all the light saucers
Yeah.
and turn off the
Yeah, I
stuff.
found one.
He turned that on.
Okay, well I can't see it, so it just looked like it was showing me some random vistas with nothing in them. It was very confusing.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stay over here because I don't want to accidentally your. Well, maybe I can shoot that from over here. Hang on.
Yeah, means I gotta leave my bat owl.
But yeah, so because I managed to pull Carlotta from the gacha in Wuwa, I am quite eager to press forward with the story because it's one of those situations where all of her ascension mats are in a different zone that I don't have access to.
Right.
So
You got.
Oh right.
You got Navia'd. What happened with me and Navia?
yeah. But I don't want to spoil myself because they do that thing where also yes, well, we'll give you special access for the duration of the banner to go and farm this boss, but if you go here, it's going to teleport you out there and you're going to get spoiled. It's like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I will stick with my beginner team of Encore and Sunhua and Verena, which will make a reasonable second string team, I think, once I've built up a first string team, because they are still like Verena and Encore are both considered very usable, and Sunhua's considered top tier. As a sort of like a linkage between your two main ones, because the normal team rotation is usually for outro introing your characters is start with your support, get your buffs up, move to your sort of bridging character who will do some damage and secondary buffs, and then move to your main nuker who will take advantage of the damage window. And that's the sort of procession that normally you go on, and Verena, Sunhua, and Encore fit that mold pretty much to a T. So they will continue to be useful even after I get to using Carlotta the way I intended. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. I don't know how long the story really is as far as how long it will go in runtime until I get there. It hasn't exactly been the most riveting so far. A bunch of stuff has happened, to be sure, but a lot of it doesn't make a great deal of sense. I feel like everybody seems to think they know me a lot better than they really should because I haven't spent that much time with them. But yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. Apparently, the people have said for a long time that the first chapter, the first act, is quite mediocre at best, but it really takes off like a rocket as it moves along, which seems to be true of most gacha games generally. But yeah, I'll leave it there. That's about all I've got to say.
Okay. When I checked an hour ago before the start of the show, we did not have an email, but I suppose I can check again just in case. Do have one? Nope. It would be on the topic I'll be talking about. Right. So, this week, the first several days this week were filled with cramming as much work as I could into the first 3 days until Thursday. Because at 10 a.m. on Thursday, the Skongs was coming out. And
yeah.
I really want to stay ahead of the curve on this because I thoroughly enjoy the feeling of going through a game where your main objective is to just get lost and go exploring without even the temptation to go look up a guide because there aren't any. And Team Cherry ensured there wouldn't be because they didn't allow pre-orders, preloading, or give any journalist copies.
Yeah, although there's another good reason they didn't give journalists a copy.
There's a lot of good reasons not to give journalist copies, but so yeah.
So I happened to actually be up at midnight when it launched here, and Steam did not like it.
Yeah. I
Steam exploded.
I tried to buy it while I was at the office. I opened Steam and opened the store, thinking, okay, I'll get it in my account and get it downloading, and immediately got to experience all the minute one issues. And then I'm like, okay, I can't mess with this right now. I've got to get back to work. Check back an hour later, it's still broken.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, the page loads at least now, but Steam's checkout section is just totally crashed.
Completely busted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I was thinking, like, it launched at midnight. I just got off work. Maybe I can play for an hour and then go to bed. But nah.
so I like, okay, I can't mess around with this. I've got to get to work again. So I get back to work and gets to 11:30. I'm like, okay, I'll check again. Still down. Like, dang.
It-
They people must really want the game. Check back again about 12:10. Finally, the store is taking purchases.
Yeah. Like, I can't even remember the last game that actually managed to slow Steam down like that.
Apparently, Deltarune, when its new chapters came out recently, did crash it for about 30 minutes.
Every time I hear
Okay.
the name Deltarune, I feel the urge to spit.
Yeah,
I'm so sick of those people. They're everywhere.
yeah. Well, while we Hollow Knight enjoyers may be very vocal about our love for the game, you at least know we all play video games because people that don't play video games can't play Hollow Knight.
As evidenced by the journalists.
Yeah. Well, and some of the Steam reviews that were mad at the game for being a video game.
Yes.
But
Can't beat the Bell Beast. Seriously.
dumb people aside, so basically my whole week has just been eagerly anticipating Silksong coming out, because there's a few reasons, and why I couldn't keep my expectations tamped down. Aside from the year being anemic that I've talked about before, Hollow Knight kind of is a little special to me in terms of video games. Like, I had played a lot of Metroidvanias and liked them beforehand, but Hollow Knight really hit that nail perfectly in just doing it so right and taking all the right inspirations from other games and subgenres, so that it just it felt good to explore, and the areas were very memorable. And I played so many of these games before, both before Hollow Knight and after, but most of them, the areas will fade over time. I'll forget what things look like. That's a good question, video game. What is that?
It's a purple guy.
Let me help you with a character design to bust that shield. But yeah, so but I still remember every single area in Hollow Knight, and it just never ever fades from memory. And that's just on the exploration end. On the combat end, it really does. It was the first 2D game to really put me in the get good mindset for 2D games, which I had not had none of before. But the game's simple combat system and how everything always felt fair and like it's like you can just practice and get better at this. It did that better than any other 2D game I know of. And so I've wanted more, basically just more Hollow Knight. I didn't even need it to be an improvement or anything. I just wanted more Hollow Knight, because that's just something I thoroughly enjoy. Is everything to do about that video game. And so I couldn't keep it tamped down, and have been eagerly anticipating this game, as evident by my spam posting. And the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, why am I willing to give Team Cherry so much grace compared to every other company out there? They may be small, and I did like Hollow Knight, but there are companies that have made games I liked before. And then I realized, as the more I think about it, it's because I trust them to respect their players and to put their customers first, which I can't do for any other company. They don't explain crap to you in Hollow Knight. They don't hold your hand. They expect you to be able to push buttons and figure stuff out in the game.
I think that to some respect that's because they haven't thought about the word customer.
Yeah.
They're thinking about players.
Yeah.
The people who presumably at least have a version of autism that resembles theirs enough that they can relate to them. therefore they're making for someone who's like themselves in some respect.
Yeah, and
Whereas people who are thinking about customers are not thinking about, oh, this person is like me, what do I like? Let's do that. They're thinking about, oh, well, I mean, what's marketable?
yeah,
What are the
Yeah.
target demographics?
yeah.
At
Team
no
Cherry,
point does what is fun cross their mind.
yeah, Team Cherry's thoughts in marketing was, "What's that?"
Is there a sandwich in this for me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, they're just gonna autistically make their game with fun combat and a whole lot of junk to explore. And that's their goal in life. And, and so I really trust Team Cherry, and every time they've had an opportunity, just make a few more bucks, and nobody would have minded with Hollow Knight if they charged, $10 for the Godmaster DLC, $15 for Grim Troop. Nobody would have cared, but they didn't. They gave it to you for free, and those were not small chunks of content.
Like
Which-
how I particularly enjoy how when they decided on their price point for this one, how insecure the rest of the industry immediately became.
Oh, the
Oh.
screaming has been fun.
Oh, it was already going before
I
launch.
could almost hear the
Yes.
hyperventilation. How am I going to justify my pricing? What am I going to say?
Yeah, like nobody expects every indie to be Team Cherry and work for 7 years on a game. You can probably price a lesser quality game at $20 and be fine. The shoe here is that even in the indie space, people are putting out buggy, messy, just unfinished titles that do not have any form of polish after only a year or two of development. Usually, even though they're indie, with a bloated team for the size of the game, that just has wasted money all over the place, and no coherent focus, and they want 30 and $40 for it, and they were hoping to make that the standard for slop. But then the
Yeah.
little bug game comes around, and the little bug game says, "Here's a multiple double-digit hours by at least 40 to 80 hours probably for your first playthrough, plus whatever other modes are in the game that are going to take your time up into the hundreds. All handcrafted, put together super well, high quality, thoroughly tested to death and polished, and we want $20 for it."
Yeah, that was really a big surprise when I saw that price. Because hang on, that doesn't sound right.
I was
I enjoyed the commentary breathlessly reporting about how this was going to destroy the games industry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got big time vibes of because this was all going on before the game came out. I only imagine it's gotten worse since the success of Hollow Knight is now evident to everybody. Like Silksong's out and they've seen it. Because I've been on YouTube, social media, everything blackout to stop myself from getting spoiled, because I know as soon as I open YouTube.
Does that mean you haven't seen the latest JD Vance tweet that the libshits are absolutely fuming over?
That one did get sent to me by people.
Okay, because that one's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like we saw the games industry have a meltdown over Claire Obscura's pricing, where they put out $40 for a piece of art,
Yeah,
basically.
and to a lesser extent, we saw the same thing when Larian put out Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
But
the AAA position here is starting to look more and more tenuous.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it really does just show how much you can get away with if you're not beholden to investors. Like,
if you're not overly bloated with redundant people.
Like, let's assume that everybody bought Hollow Knight on sale at $7.50, which is its usual sale price. And then let's assume Steam and the government eat $5 of that. That's still $2.5 per sale. Multiplied by 12 point whatever million, divided by 3. After contracting fees, if you really highball it, that's $1 million. That's an insane amount of money for the first little bug game to make 3 dudes.
I think they're up to like 6 dudes now.
Well, Christopher Larkin might as well. He's a contractor technically, but
he's one of the dudes.
Yeah, but he gets he makes his money separately, and that he gets sales directly. He gets paid directly from sales of the soundtrack.
Yes.
which I'm sure he's more than happy with because I'm sure they sell a lot of copies of that. But yeah, it's just shows you that not having a bloated team and not anchoring yourself down to uh getting out over your skis with a zillion people and losing a coherent vision. Like this is the way to go. Small indie teams that actually are passionate about making a good product. Like the first Hollow Knight was made with $300,000 as a Kickstarter.
Yes.
No investors, and they actually stopped funding on it when they were like, okay, guys, we got enough to make the game now. We're good, and they just killed the Kickstarter. I didn't know this until the pre-release for Silksong, but apparently they did, and that's insane. But they didn't want the stretch goals to keep going on and scope creep the game. So they understood what they had and what they needed to get out, and the first game was successful enough because they had a good idea and executed it well enough that they made oodles of cash and didn't have to be beholden to anybody when the sequel came out. And they took their time with it and have pumped out a very high quality game. And now other indies and even AAAs are looking at this going, crap, we just charged $110 for Mario Kart.
And no one's playing it now, by the way.
Yeah, and
Everyone played the open tech demo for Sonic Racing and just dropped Mario Kart.
Yeah, well, it's already down to its online, 10,000 20,000 continuous players stagnation point from what I've heard. Like the game is dead functionally. It's got its consistent player base of tryhards and obsessives, and like every single game that has an online component and sells really well does. And that's it. Everybody else is gone.
Yep.
And they're like, crap, we just sold this for $110, and now we look like idiots. Well, Nintendo didn't. Probably isn't self-reflective at all, they're Nintendo. But other games are clearly very insecure about this, and I saw indies already coping that they were going to try and shill their game that's nowhere near the quality of Silksong for $30-$40. I'm like, well, make a better game. Oh, I'm getting cutscened.
Yep. There's Dragon.
Like, there is an obvious solution here. Don't get out over your skis and make a better game. I mean,
yeah.
It's not a nice thing that it's not a fair world. The fact of the matter is you've got the skill to do it or you don't. You have the natural aptitude for game design or you don't. And the people that do get to make more money and sell more copies at a cheaper price and can get away with it and make you look bad. Sorry. So this is still all pre-release stuff with the game. But I imagine it's only, that I've seen anyway, I imagine it's only gotten a zillion times worse. And I double am sure if you go to the indie developers on Blue Sky, they're apoplectic.
Well, to be fair, they're always apoplectic on Blue Sky. But yeah, there is a good amount of screaming going on right now. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. So the cute little bug game and Clair Obscur this year have just stuck a needle in the eye of AAA jacking their prices through the roof.
Yeah, it just doesn't. All of their excuses that they give are going to sound really hollow to people now.
Yeah, it's going to be really funny when Clair Obscur and Silksong are up for every single Game of the Year award, and they are $50 and $20.
And they give it to Borderlands instead.
Yeah, I think you might see riots over that.
Yeah,
I feel like they're in a position now where it doesn't matter who they give it to. There's going to be riots.
Especially because Jeff Keighley doesn't have to pay lip service to Silksong after this year. He's going to be so happy. I bet you he's so sick of that meme. Every single show he runs, like he's trying to schmooze up to the bigwigs in the industry and the Hollywood types, and trying to erase his image as the Doritos Pope. And he's just got the chat for all of his streams going, Silksong win.
I don't think it's going to stop. That is
I hope that Team Cherry, like the night before the Game Awards or whatever, announced their first DLC title or something like that.
Oh, in the Bloomberg article, they already hinted very strongly they're already in production for the first DLC pack.
I want them to sustain the meme. I just need them to replace it with something else because it would wind Keighley up.
Yeah, that's for no other reason than just to get on Keighley's tits.
Yeah,
but
that's the
what
other.
was really fun actually is if you noticed before, the week leading up to Silksong, there were so many indies and even a few not so indie games that just delayed their launch.
Oh yeah, and not small indie names either. Like the Eternal Noctis guys and the Bennett Fodder guy, the guy that made the Bucket game. Like they all bowed out. They said, "Nah, we ain't doing that."
Yeah, to be fair, the Metaphony guys at least had fun with it because of like we're
Oh,
gonna make this stupid trailer about our character who needs to poop walking around on top of a statue of Hornet. We're delaying this because crossed out. We want to play Silksong.
What? Why is there already a mod to reduce the damage enemies do?
Because that's one of the things people are
So
about.
this was part of the expected but overall complaint about Silksong. We'll get into it proper when we get there. So yeah, the market fled. The indie scene got out of this freight train's way. Nobody wanted to get hit by Hornet and her needle because they knew they could not compete with the king. Like,
nope.
Like it's not happening. On top of it being a genuinely great game,
well, I don't know. You say that's the reason. I think that they just wanted to play rather than managing a launch.
At least a few of them are honest on that front. Yes,
that's possible. But the meme status of Silksong has truly gotten insane at that point. Of it just being, the indie Duke Nukem forever.
Yeah,
and you just
so
don't.
There was a lot of them basically said, aside from wanting to play it themselves, that's like because if we launch next to this thing, we're just going to get lost in the noise.
Yeah, there were some that just outright admitted they just wanted to play Silksong instead.
Yeah, that was the Metaphony guys as well.
Yeah, like they're just like
baby steps. That's what it's called.
Yeah, the guy that walks around that's a man-child that looks like he's got to poop.
Yeah, I think that's actually the plot. Is he's getting kicked out of his mum's basement and he really needs to poop or something.
Yeah, dude's weird.
It's a weird game, and by a weird person.
Why is there a nude mod for Hornet?
There is one point actually early on in the game you see Hornet without her cloak, and she has a big ass head and a stick figure body. Why would you need that?
That's what the nude mod does. It just takes the cloak off.
Oh, there's a well, I won't spoil it.
I'm just sort of flicking through Twitter because even if it does have spoilers, I won't recognize them, so I'm not that concerned.
Put it this way: for a portion of the game, you won't need a mod. But she's.
So you are running around big ass head.
But yeah, she may be bipedal, but she's a void bug.
It's a really strong neck.
So yeah. So the game launches, and I had the Steam DB charts pulled up before the show, but they were in the other browser, which I closed.
Silly.
It was very silly of me. Let me correct this mistake. So, the peak player count for the first 3 days of launch was 587,000 players concurrently.
Whee!
That's a colossal success. That's just the Steam numbers, so over 1 million people were playing this game probably concurrently.
Incidentally, the PlayStation Store and the Switch Online Store also crashed.
Oh yeah, and you it's good when they don't allow pre-orders. Like I think everybody that was aware of just how popular this game was and its meme status knew that these stores were gonna at least have trouble. I don't think we expected multi-hour outages, but we knew that there was going to be a few hiccups.
Yeah,
I've always had this paranoid feeling that the reason that one of the reasons why the current crop of games journalists like their jobs to the extent they like their jobs is because they feel that because they get that early copy that they are the ones that decide whether a game is good or not because people will read their reviews and be influenced by it whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
And they just like that feeling of power. It's not really about the content of the review or the act of reviewing. It's just, I get to be the tastemaker. I'm the one who decides whether it's good or not. Everybody will see what I have to say first.
Given some of the reviews I've read, I would say that's not just a contributing part for some of them, but the main motivating factor.
Yeah.
So
good old narcissism.
Yeah, Yeah, some people were livid they didn't get a key, and Team Cherry didn't give any. And their
Not
reasoning,
a single one.
if it had come from anybody other than Team Cherry, I would have been suspect. But their reasoning was the Kickstarter backers paid for this game to get made originally, and this was supposed to be DLC for Hollow Knight. They get to play it first, along with everybody else. Nobody is going to beat them to the punch. So we're not giving away review copies because we want them to have a pure experience playing the game. Which means because there's no review copies going out, there's no guides written. Means they can play the game, which I have been very thankful for, because this is to make this even better for me. This makes the game in the very, very rare bracket where I'm playing it at launch ahead of all the journos and the Fextra Life types that will start cramming information up on the internet. So there's no temptation to go look up a guide because one doesn't exist. I can just explore, and whenever something starts niggling at me because I'm having trouble figuring out where something is, or I'm curious about something, I have to think about it the way I used to, which makes me feel good. I don't have a fallback. I have to just go find it myself. Just go exploring. Go look around. There's probably something you missed in the previous area. Go remow this part of the map. It's probably somewhere around there. And sure enough, it usually is. Or there's another way of
I often
approaching
do
this.
have that struggle myself with, like, I've got to weigh against, okay, I could solve this myself, but am I actually failing in some other way by choosing not to look it up because I'm being less efficient? Am I doing it wrong if I don't look it up? Like
Yeah.
those are sorts of weird thoughts that pass through my head.
Yeah, because at least for me, there's a joy in just organically running around a world and exploring it and finding all kinds of nooks and crannies everywhere, and having fun doing that. But the guidification of every game that's come out and people learning to optimize the fun out of everything, you just always have this, especially as once you get to be an adult and have a job, you just have this voice in the back of your head that's like, oh,
Well, also, if you spent a lot of us cut our teeth on obscenely complicated games with huge databases like World of Warcraft,
mm-hmm.
and you don't have a choice really. Nobody can remember all that crap.
Yeah. Or the games just have too many moving parts for games like that it becomes second nature to look
as
stuff
far
up.
as far as like an isekai protagonist goes, like in Log Horizon, Shiro's superpower was that he had almost encyclopedic knowledge of the game.
He was
And
Thoughtbot.
that was it. Yeah, he was Thoughtbot. He kept Thoughtbot in his head, and that was what made him famous when it was a game, and it's what made him powerful when the game became real. Like, because normally nobody can hold enough information, but so all of us have been trained to look things up, and in fact, that it's a plot point that they labor it more in the books than they do in the anime. But it was actually a problem that the only in the story of Log Horizon, the teleport system breaks down when the game becomes real. So everybody is isolated to whatever continent they logged out on last. There is another way to transfer your position called fairy rings, which are teleports as well, but nobody can use them because they have a complex algorithmic schedule of which fairy ring is linked to which other fairy ring, and everybody was just using mods and websites to track at what time of day you go to which fairy ring to get to which place, and so nobody could use them because nobody had in their head how the fairy rings worked. And so it was the work of like 12 months worth of research for them to establish on paper how all the fairy rings worked.
Yeah. That's fun. But yeah, I remember as Thoughtbot became more and more prevalent and mods that handled all that crap became more and more prevalent, because if you played very early vanilla, you could still get away without looking stuff up and be very experimental. The content was not scaled for people that autistically looked everything up. And I did do that and enjoyed it. But eventually it started to become second nature to go look stuff up as these things became more prevalent.
Find zesty clam meat.
Yeah, like going to look up actual drop rates in the middle of farming just to put more information in your brain so you can.
Am I being mistreated by this quest for Gevra hooves?
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember sitting outside of Ratchet just murdering zebras forever.
The bear collecting bear asses around Terran Mill.
Yeah.
Those bears had no asses.
So yeah, but there is none of that here. if you want to go fill out an entry in the Hunter's Journal, which doesn't even count for completion, it just gets you a lore entry by killing a enemy a certain number of times. You got to remember where the heck that was, or where one spawn that's respawnable. You want to go do a quest or go remember where you saw something. You got to put a pin on your map or go back and get it right now. This will all be moot in a week, but and not relevant. But for those of us that are getting in on the ground floor, it really is an amazing feeling to go back to this. I forgot how much I missed this, and I know if I got frustrated enough or something was taking too long, not even frustrated, just if something was taking too long, there's a risk of me looking up a guide just for the sake of expediency because of time, basically. But that's not an option right now. And I love this feeling going through the game. And this will fade quickly, but I'm very glad to get it on ground floor, and I understand why Team Cherry prioritized making sure that the game journalists didn't get a copy. They didn't want those guides out there. It makes all the secrets more fun and more organic to discover with the community if you're so inclined to engage with them instead of playing through it straight, or leaves you free of the temptation to go and look crap up. It makes the first playthrough of this game really kind of light a spark that I thought was kind of gone because of just the way video games are now. But Team Cherry
Realistically, if I was going to play a game like that seriously, I would probably just record everything that I was doing so I could play it back so that I can find my way back to places.
Yeah. So
I got no sense of direction, it's all too hard.
But yeah. So that was the circumstances for the release and why there were no journalist copies. They didn't explicitly say the guide reason. That's just a benefit I've noted and would not be surprised
because
if that was part of it.
you're not in control of how many copies of your game are out there as soon as you dispense one early code.
Yeah. You put one code out there, you have no idea who's going to get that code, who's going to be playing it, whether somebody will be able to crack it immediately, because I'm positive.
Especially with how much hype this has got, how many people have been waiting, how long for it. Like, the amount of pressure on the people who had access to the software to spread it around would have been immense.
Yeah, and it is. If you want that organic day one experience, you can't give it out. Never mind that journalists are scum that are, as we'll get to later, are going to have trouble with this game.
I think they probably would have gotten a power trip off of spoiling it for people as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
because that just seems to be the sort of person that gets involved in that industry.
Yeah. The story in Hollow Knight is deep and detailed if you go through all the notes, but the presented story is just enough to give you context for why you're there, and present the obvious motivations by the end for what you're doing.
Tell you how to be exactly as awesome as Zote.
Well, yeah, you have to sit there for a long time just reading Zote dialogue if you want all 47 of those precepts. Or 57, whatever
he
it is.
talks a lot.
Yeah, like as soon as you beat his dream version and he's hanging out in Hollow Nest or in Dartmouth, you just have to sit there and mash that X button over and over again to get him to yammer those precepts out. It's the post I linked you was like one of the first guys to transcribe all of them. They just sat there and wrote them all down. It takes like 40 minutes to get through all of them. So yeah.
You got to get through all that self-aggrandizement as well.
But even that said, the story and the world of Hollow Nest, and well, not Hollow Nest here in Farling, I guess, the world of the worlds and lands in the Hollow Knight setting are important, and people want to. It means something to organically discover stuff in that game and get the big reveals put in front of you. Because if any of the backstory is leaked or spoiled, the bosses that are coming up and their implications in the story are going to be all kind of laid out for you. You'll see more twists coming. It's just kind of, you need that stuff to be organically fed to you. It's much more fun, and if a journalist hasn't spoiled it, to sit there and just go through it normally and pick up what foreshadowing you can from maybe this enemy looks interesting, so you go kill a bunch of them so you can fill out its hunter journal entry, and you see something cool there that might foreshadow some stuff coming up later or give some context to an old boss you killed. Like, that's the kind of cool stuff you can only get natural discovery and that first feeling with if the journalists haven't journalized all over it.
The other extremely cynical part of me says that they just didn't want the journalists doing something stupid like playing through the game, getting up to Bell Beast, and then declaring that the game is bugged because they couldn't beat the goodest boy.
Yeah, the best buggo. The
Best
Bell.
buggo.
Yeah, he is your fast travel bug is a giant puppy.
He's such a good boy.
Yeah, he is a bug, and very much so a bug, but he behaves just like a puppy. You can
And
tell
he
Team.
sings if you hit the bell at the top of the chamber.
Oh, wait till you can get the ability. You don't have a dream nail in this game, but it has a rough equivalent. You might remember in the first Hollow Knight, you had the dream nail that didn't do physical damage to anything it hit, but you'd smack it and it would refill more of your soul after a charged hit from it. And if you smacked an NPC with it, you could see their thoughts.
Yep.
Hornet doesn't have the dream nail. Hornet has her strings on her needle, and she plays plays it like a musical instrument and gets the people around her to break into song that reveals their thoughts, or just whatever they're passionate about.
That's a creative way of going about things.
That said, Sharma is the little singing tiny bug that you find singing
That
to
was
the
already
gate.
singing.
Yeah, she is adorable. The bestest good girl. I hope
Don't you
not.
remember that little tinging thing just going ding 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 and she sings away?
She's so adorable. She's so gonna die.
Oh, she is absolutely gonna die.
But
We see there are a few characters like that in the first Hollow Knight, and you come back later and they had the blight in them, and you had to kill them in some cases.
it was mostly Minor Mila was the one that was genuinely affable and nice to you
Yeah.
every time you walked into Crystal Peaks. Like she was so
And-
such a ditz, basically, that the Radiants had nothing to latch onto until she remembered a song that, as she remembered more of the lyrics, it mentioned the Radiants and allowed it to mind controller.
Yeah, so eventually that final time you come into a chamber and she's got the orange.
Yeah, and the only thing you can do for her at that point is put her down. It's very sad. They're so gonna do something like that to Sharma.
Shaman is so gonna die.
Yeah, but yeah, she's too pure for this world.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the game journos on the lead up. So we get to release day. We mentioned the servers crashing on everything. There were no pre-orders. Team Cherry, like rightly so, thinks pre-orders are stupid. You should not give somebody money unless you're genuinely interested in the game, either because people are hyped up for it, or you've read about it and you've looked at gameplay and think it's interesting. You know, the old way of making a purchase decision instead of following a pre-order hype train, because pre-orders functionally don't do anything except stop the stores from crashing because they all expect people to pre-order it ahead of time now, as we saw.
Yeah, well, pre-orders honestly have no relevance anymore.
Yeah,
it's just to drive up early sales.
And what's the impact of it? The stores went down for a couple hours at worst. And this is probably the biggest server hammering these payment systems will ever see, because Team Cherry are the only people that are like, yeah, no pre-orders.
Oh.
Oh, you're not near me, so I have no idea what you're doing over there. So yeah,
it's giving me a. Oh, that's why it's giving me a Dogosaurus or Fishosaurus.
So yeah, I was at the office when it came out, so I could not play. I had intended to try and cut out early and leave things to the opossum. Work did not play out that way the first day. I had problems nonstop and was there until like 5:30. I did run home during my quote-unquote lunch break and start the game installing, though, because I knew for a fact the servers were being hammered.
Yeah.
And had to patiently deal with customers who are being stupid and thinking I'm an electrician instead of, manufacturer's representative, although engineers think I'm an engineer, so that's a thing. Had to learn how to do their job. Maybe I should go to electrician school and at least learn the basics. Won't have to go to a full apprenticeship, but hopefully I actually know something.
I know that in this country there is sort of like a minor certificate you can do for like basic stuff.
Yeah. You can take classes in trade school that will teach you the basics of being an electrician. To become an electrician proper, you have to go through the full apprenticeship master's process, and there's a whole
I know we
accreditation
used to
system.
have a staff member on site. Because of health and safety policy, we don't anymore. But we used to have a staff member on site who just kept a certificate updated, so that we could do like test and tag on all the equipment,
Mm-hmm.
make sure all of the plugs and cables were working the way they should. And he just used to basically just do that, which was only the minimum amount of training, but enough to sort of make sure that the equipment was like not stuffed.
Enough to ID problems or fix the simplest of simplest of problems.
Yeah, well, more importantly, in practical terms, to tell when something actually needed an electrician.
Yeah. So I have thought about going and taking a quarter at the tech school for just a class like that. It's gotten so bad now. And this because as it stands right now, I have to either call the factory, wait for their electrical engineers to get back to me with troubleshooting problems, send that to the customer, tell them to get me pictures because they never get them to me to begin with, and then send those pictures up to the factory, and then have them tell me what the F is wrong and what's wired wrong. And or I have to call my personal tech out there and then charge the customer $200 to have him come out there and fix it for him. But the electrician industry in the United States right now is just it's in a rough state. The current batch of electricians all over the country are awful. It's been a phenomenon that you hear people talk about inside of construction circles, and I think I've even seen it slip into like the commentary at bunches on Twitter and stuff. So yeah, that ate a lot of my Thursday. Was trying to pretend to be an electrician and stare at a wiring diagram. So there's that. But eventually I got home and booted the game. And I have committed every free moment of time I've had after Thursday, like every waking hour when I'm not sleeping or at work, to Skongin. Because I want to stay ahead of this curve and keep exploring the game. Now, if I want to take it at my own pace, this just means settle in for a marathon session and keep Energizer Bunny in your way through. So, before I continue on to the main game itself, I do want to say one thing. A boss that I fought very recently is in the trailer. Now, I'm not going to describe the boss fight at all, but I will say it's the boss that you see in the trailer where there are two bugs that are dancers that are hugging each other in the middle of their dance, and kind of a big dance move. The alphabet people decided these were gay bugs before the game was even out. Now, what's double funny is these aren't even bugs; they're clockwork machines. And so I imagine they are big mad if they have got to that point in the game. So they are literally just two dancing robots.
Apparently, the Blue Sky people are raging out that Silksong is being sold in Russia.
Why?
Because they
say Russians shouldn't be allowed to buy it because they're evil.
Yeah, remember, good and evil is pre-labeled on everybody based on where you are or how you were born.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Just one of my side adventures during the week was trying to get Unification mod installed on Dawn of War remaster. There's a faction in that mod that it's basically Space Russians, one of the sub factions of the Imperial Guard.
Oh dear.
And the commissar is just straight up Putin.
Vostroyans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have Commissar Putin running around.
I see.
My favorite.
Someone's a meme.
My favorite 4chan green post is, you people think you want communism, but the second you get what even the communism you actually asked for, the one where the working class rise up, you're not the working class, okay? You're going to be having knocks on your door by Commissar Jamal and Commissar Cletus.
Yep.
But I don't know why, but I found those two names in that green text just stuck with me forever as super funny.
I'm afraid that they are going to be forced to flee to the only place that has not been corrupted by capitalism.
Spice. You got to do this. The snort he does when he tries so hard not to laugh. Just take like 3 breaths before he says spice, because it's so ridiculous.
I don't know how many takes he took, and they just said, "You know what? This isn't happening. Let's just go with that."
Like, okay, this is the best we're gonna get.
Anyway,
Is he like that through all of the briefings?
good chunk of them.
He has a whole lot of fun facial expressions that are clearly him reacting to the script and what people have been told to do.
Yeah, and when he's not corpsing, he's chewing on the scenery.
My favorite other nonverbal Tim Curryism is Natasha, the busty babe for the Soviets in that game. She bends over and puts her booty like on full display for the camera, and Tim Curry looks right at her booty. Like, they really directed it to go right here, didn't they? And then he looks at the camera and raises one eyebrow with a big dumb grin on his face.
Tim Curry, you're a legend.
Yeah. So yeah, the cute little bug game. So, eventually I did get home and start playing.
Yeah, let's keep the spoilers to a minimum, by the way. I'm up to the halfway house the first time you go there.
Okay, so you're in Greymore.
I'm in Greymore, which is thoroughly depressing.
Yeah, it's a very great...
I've seen all I've seen of it is part of Ina fighting the bell bug, and then a good amount of her going, "Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?" afterwards.
Ina knows what's up.
Yeah, the bell bug is the goodest boy. So, right away, when you pick up the game, it's going to feel very similar to Hollow Knight in terms of movement. As far as, the directional buttons your character goes, you have full control over your character at all times. Momentum is a myth in the Hollow Knight universe, unless you're in the middle of an attack, and then it gets hard locked.
Yeah, that takes a little bit of getting used to.
But this lets you be able to do the same kind of acrobatic nonsense as before. The biggest difference that I did see a few memes slip through the feed on before I totally went radio silent because I didn't want the internet to spoil me at all, was memes about 45-degree angles.
That 45-degree angle has hurt me so much.
So, Hornet has the Knight has, if you hold down in the air and attack, he has the iconic pogo, where he'll swipe downwards with a basic sword slash in the air. If this connects with an enemy, like all attacks, it has knockback on the Knight and will cause him to bounce up in the air. And this is called pogoing, based on what it's the same term used to refer to Scrooge McDuck's cane in DuckTales, the NES game, which is where the idea originally comes from. And you can use this for all kinds of silly things. And when it's just a down slash, it's really easy to position yourself for the swipe to do the pogo. Hornet is a fan of 45 Yeah, she is a fan of 45-degree angles. And Fern
is she when you fight her?
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
She does not have a down swipe in her boss fight. In fact, eventually you will start unlocking more and more moves that she uses in her boss fights. As Silksong skills, like up to and including the counter if you find a secret boss. Which I did not know was a secret boss, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, Fern. My path through the game is not going to be the orthodox path, because I was me and was turbo autistic. Yep. I found myself wandering off into areas where Pachanka, or whatever her actual name is, I could not even reach her location because I didn't have the item needed to traverse that terrain. So I got to go to a lot of fun places.
I'm a bit more orthodox, I think, where I've gone. But that said, I have gotten horribly lost in places because I didn't have the map.
Yeah, I accidentally found a back door into the Citadel.
Oh, that's probably not good. You probably shouldn't have been there at that point.
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna come back here later with more tools. I think
Yeah.
we are well and truly out of our skis, and I haven't had a map for like 3 zones now.
So that's one of the things I find that's a bit of a hold up on the game. It's not necessarily a negative mark, but the Rosary's currency is always in demand.
Yeah, it gets less so as time goes on by a lot.
Yep.
As you start approaching the run to the Citadel, you will have so many rosaries that you won't know what to do with them all. Like I have if you are autistically lawn mowing, you will have a stack of the 120 and 60 rosaries in 20 each because that's the max you can hold.
Yep.
You can, unlike the first game, which had Geo, when you died, your Geo got sucked up by your shade, and you had to go kill your shade to get your max soul meter back and get your missing Geo back. In this game, your rosaries go in there, but you can mitigate this. For a cost of 20 rosaries, several of the vendors will sell a rosary bead that come in increments of 30, 60, 120, and different vendors have different sized ones. So you can buy a whole bunch of 120 rosary bead strings, which do not go away when you die. Those stay in your inventory. Now, you have to pay 140 for them, but it essentially lets you bank your rosary currency, your rosary beads, like a like a bank, and just bust them out whenever you need them.
I think the big souls from Dark Souls.
Yeah, and if you really want to make yourself secure on currency, there's an area you can go to right now that I know you haven't gone to because it's optional, called the Hunter's March. That is full of relatively tough red enemies that are colored red, and one of them drops 25 rosary beads a kill.
Oh, so you just get farm that guy.
Yeah, bop him a few times and you'll be set for taking care of all your need to pay for activating benches and fast travel point needs for a while. Just get enough to turn into like 4 rosary beads strings and you're golden.
Right.
So we'll
I
not
haven't found the Hunter's March yet, so something to look forward to.
I found it right after I got the dash power up.
Okay.
It is and this game has a lot of optional areas I found. Because they just
I do need to go back and mow some lawns. I've gotten a few new powers and I haven't gone back to mow some lawns yet, so I probably should go do that.
Go to the upper right of the deep docks. You will find a very fat red enemy through one of the doorways. And yeah, he probably clobbered you when you went in there and fought him without the dash.
Yes, he did.
I stubbornly tried to kill him without the dash, and looking back on how much damage I did, I almost got there a few times. But if you go back with the dash, it's a cakewalk to knock him over, and that everything behind him is a totally optional area called the Hunter's March.
All right, yeah, I fought him, I got clobbered, and thinking, nah, I need the dash to fight this guy.
Yeah, so people may or may not have a little bit of trouble adjusting to Hornet's moveset. She attacks a little slower than the Knight, but not by much. She has more range by default.
She has longer arms, longer sword.
Yeah, she has a needle instead of a nail.
Yes.
So, she does not have a pogo. She has a 45-degree angle dive, which you will use extensively. And once you go to the Hunter's March, you will know exactly what I mean by pogo chains, because there are just pits of spikes with circular balls that you can bounce off of with the properly timed pogos, and this is how you have to navigate this thing. And I did this without the slow fall power up. So it was all pogos the whole way through. And it lets you do it all the way to the boss.
Okay.
So you can navigate that place as early as soon as you get the dash power up. It is a challenging optional area for that early in the game, but it's nothing outside the realm of doability. The boss is going to kick your butt up and down the sidewalk for a few attempts, even though you will smack yourself because his moveset is the simplest thing you've seen in the world. There's just a lot to keep track of, even though he only has like 2 moves. But yeah, so the Moss whatever, the tutorial boss, I don't even really count that as a boss. I'm sure it's counted in the final boss total, but The
Yeah.
little green flying thing. It's there just to make sure you understand the basic controls of the game before they let you loose into the marrow and the first town. You progress through the marrow. You meet Pachanka. I need to look up what her actual name is.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. Something beginning with an S.
Yeah, it's an S. I don't want to type the word Silksong map into Google. I don't.
No, don't do that.
I don't want to know what some autist has posted for the full map. But yeah, she has an actual name. But she says Pachunka every time you see her, and she yodels when she's nearby.
Yes.
It's not as charming as Cornifer's humming, but it works.
Yeah, and she leaves rings around instead of the paper.
Yeah, it took me a minute to key that those rings were a signal that she was nearby, because there are also bells that are just detritus from the bell tower that's nearby Greymore.
Yep.
And a lot of those bells can wind up quite far from the tower, so I thought maybe these are just environmental junks. No, they lead to our map girl.
Yep.
So yeah, that's those. Got through. You go through the marrow. You find your map girl. You probably go kill the first few enemies that drop rosaries instead of needing to find them in the world to farm up a few, so you can buy the quill in your first map. Just to get yourself mapping started. Generally a good idea to have a map. Buy the compass that you will perpetually keep equipped on your first playthrough and may not even take off on later ones. And you're off to the Bell Beast. The Bell Beast is the first real boss of the game. And the Bell Beast is not hard. He has like 3 moves that just speed up and start to as the fight goes on. But I did die to him a couple times. And the only thing I could think of after I beat him was, I died to the helicopter in Armored Core like once or twice before it clicked. I wonder how many people are going to get filtered by the flippin' Bell Beast.
Yeah. Like, I didn't find Belbeast hard. I died once because I misread one of his attacks. I thought he was going to run when he jumped.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody complaining about Bell Beast. I've just seen two masks,
Yeah, so that's the other game. In general, the Knight in Hollow Knight is a very durable little
Bug thing.
void bug. He
Vessel.
Most enemies can't really, by the late game especially, kill you. It takes a lot of mistakes for the Knight to die. Hornet will often take 2 massive damage, significantly more than the Knight. 2 masks were reserved for very specific bosses, like Nightmare King Grim did 2, the Radiance, or the Absolute Radiance does 2, Pure Vessel does 2. Like, that was a special, very powerful enemy, boss usually. Very, very few trash packs did it in the first Hollow Knight.
What about Zote?
Zote actually can do the most damage in the game, if you're talking about his dream fight. Every time you beat him, you come back and fight him again, he gets a new word added to, or a chain of words added to his title in the dream world.
Really stupid.
Yeah, actually, I wrote it down earlier today. Hang on. It is, by the time you get to the end, it is the invincible, fearless, sensual, mysterious, enchanting, vigorous, diligent, overwhelming, gorgeous, passionate, terrifying, beautiful, powerful Grey Prince Zote is his final variant at 9 kills. Every time you beat the boss, you go back in, he gets a new word, and he hits harder and has new mechanics. I think he stops having new mechanics at the 4th one, but the damage increases up until he does 10 masks of damage, which is a 1-shot per hit.
Yeah. So Dreamworld Zote is serious business.
Yeah.
Even if he is a complete goober outside the dream world.
He's a goober even in the dream world.
Well, that's true.
And remember, the dream version is Bretta's idealized version of him as her husbando, because she's just so taken in by his stories.
Even though everyone else recognizes that he's just full of crap.
Yeah. that's Zote. But yeah, 2 massive damage is much more common, even from trash packs in Silksong. Mask upgrades are way more infrequent. You will not have very much health for several hours. Like, I have found 5 mask shards. That's 1 mask plus 1 piece of 1 mask in 20 hours. Like health is just hard to come by for upgrades, and they really want this to be a thing because they've changed the way healing works. In the original Hollow Knight, you could press and hold the channel soul button while on the ground, and every half second after it took half a second to enable, you would heal 1 mask of damage, and you could channel this as much or as little as you needed to make sure you were being soul efficient. Hornet can't do this. Hornet has the bind, or the Ren. I could practically hear the W in her Ren every time she says
Oh
it.
yeah, she pronounces the W.
Yeah, she doesn't make a W sound, but you can just kind of like hear the letter.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like, but every time she does that, she will heal for 3 masks, 4 if you buy the charm that improves healing, but wouldn't recommend equipping that charm outside of exploration because it makes you need to take longer to heal. And this will expend an entire gauge of silk, which is her equivalent to soul. So instead of building up soul when she hits like the knight does, her soul is apparently comes in the form of thread. And so it's still soul that you're building up. It's just called silk. And it looks like a little thread on a spool. And pressing the heal button lets you heal 3 massive damage after about a second, maybe a second and a half of channeling. 2 seconds if you have the upgraded version, and you heal for the upgrade charm for it equipped. And you heal for 3 masks for the normal one and 4 masks in 2 bursts. In two bursts of 2 for the powered up version with the charm. But the caveat is, despite this despite not being able to be as economical as you were with Soul with the Knight, Hornet can heal in the air.
Yes.
This is a big deal, and you need to figure out how to do this and make yourself safe when healing, or you're going to get clobberbopped. So, but it very much so offsets the natural drawback of needing to have a full soul meter to even try to heal, and it's going to heal exactly 3 pips.
Yeah, I think like most people, I discovered this completely by accident.
Yeah, well, it'll come organically if you just push buttons and play the game enough. But people that are super stuck in the Hollow Knight mindset, I imagine, are having trouble with it. And this also leans into, there's a lot of stuff that just does 2 massive damage. A lot of bosses, the big fat-bodied enemies in general, most even contact with them can do 2 masks. Smaller enemies will usually do 1, unless they have a big wind-up attack or a flurry attack where they swipe their weapon or their claws at you really fast at the end of their lunge or leap or something. That'll do 2 masks and lock you into the full animation for being hit by both attacks. And the big-bodied enemies will just straight up do 2. But the big-bodied enemies are not particularly common. So usually you don't have to worry about taking 2 masks when just out exploring. Boss fights are a different story. Small-bodied bosses will usually do 2 masks if you're hit by their weapon. Big-bodied bosses will do 2 masks if you hit them at all. And judging by how these fights usually go, this is a very deliberate design decision that is set up to make the bosses a bit chunkier and make mistakes more punished, because you could face tank through quite a few of the base game bosses in Hollow Knight. It was not impossible, especially once you got nail upgrades, to just sit there and face tank stuff. And this was always a drawback I had thought of the original game. As much as I loved it, you needing to get to the Pantheon for bosses to have enough HP to present a challenge for some of them, when some of them had some really good ideas, was always a drawback. But in this game, you have to be very careful. Your mistakes are limited out the gate. If you want to forego healing and use your silk for offense, you can make 3 mistakes functionally before you die for the entire first half of the game. If you want to heal, it's very committal. You've got to know when the window is, and you will get 2 hits back because you will heal for 3. Just remember, if the boss does 2 massive damage, if you're at an odd number, that functions as an entire extra hit. So that's if you heal once. Once you start healing more than once, the numbers get fuzzy. But the bosses also just, in general, have more HP. A lot more. Somewhere in the ballpark of 35 to 50% more. They're even Nightmare King Grim, the pinnacle of Hollow Knight's boss design in terms of just a incredibly fun fight to sit and do. If you take most of the opening windows to get a hit or 2 in like you're supposed to, he will die in about 2.5 to 3 minutes. The Bell Beast dies in about 3.5 minutes. The dude has quite a substantial amount of HP compared to the early game bosses in Hollow Knight. And later on, the boss fight I just did was a solid 5-minute encounter.
Yeah, I did 4th chorus, and I wasn't going super aggressive on it, but that was still a good 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, and I clicked with his moveset immediately and almost didn't get hit by anything. I found
It's
pretty
simple moveset.
Yeah, I found first chorus to be probably a little undertuned. He could use another move or 2 in his kit, but he's still fun, especially as a set piece right after you've got the floaty jump.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Hornet doesn't have a double jump, and as far as I can tell from the way the levels are laid out, she's not going to get one. They really are flexing their level design muscles and relying on the pogo balls or things that can be pogoed off of extensively, slow fall, and her very enhanced dash compared to the Knight. She has a much better dash than the Knight could dream of. Her dash goes further, both in the air and on the ground, and when she's on the ground, she can maintain the sprint from the second, the microsecond her dodge ends, to get her even more distance if you need it. Or you can just press and hold the button and not have to mash the dash button every few seconds to move fast in the overworld, which is always nice. So yeah, I have I enjoy all these changes to the gameplay. I am flipping a coin on something that I've found that is totally optional content, but is very significant to the gameplay that's worth talking about. I think it's okay to talk about it because if I don't go into the specifics of it, most of the discovery of what it is, and if I don't tell you where they are, will still be there. So what we've just described is Hornet's base moveset. She has at least 5 other total moveset swaps you can equip. At any bench once you unlock them. And they are not small movesets. The easiest one to describe that won't have anything new in it is she has a version of the Knight's moveset, all his normal attacks, his rapid fire charge attack, but the trade-off is she attacks faster than the Knight did with that same moveset, but her range is even smaller than the Knight's. So there's a trade-off for it. She has
when she has arms where the Knight has nubs.
Yeah. So her slashes are significantly shorter than even the Knight's were, but you can get the Knight's old moveset back. You'll find these alternate movesets by going to shrines by pressing up on the D-pad or going inside of a room, and there'll be nothing inside the shrine except usually a mini boss at the end or a combat gauntlet, and maybe a small short platforming section. and you'll just stick your needle in something and you'll be able to collect it. And from what I can find, they're all in optional or revisitable areas. Like, you have to go back and find them, and there's nothing that breadcrumbs you to them. You've just got to go hunting, go exploring, and they are really fun to mess around with. I won't go into the specifics of any of them because the rest of them are all mechanically so different that they're spoilers, and I'm not going to tell you where any of them are.
Yeah, please don't.
But yeah, go revisit old areas. You might find significantly bigger expansions to your toolkit than you were previously thinking might be there.
Yep, trying to go back and mow the lawn.
Yep. And that brings us to a segue of Hornet. She does get more spells as the game goes on. For her basic press the soul button or the spell button and you do a spell thing. But the majority of her variety and offensive options comes from her tools. Girl just really likes making crap on benches and has a gorillion different tools you can make and equip and decide between. And from what I can tell, experimenting with all of them, their damage is fairly normalized. The only thing that determines their ammo count is how usable they are and how many hits they can do. So one is going to be only preferable based on the scenario of the boss you're fighting. So if something's on the ground a lot and you throw the clop drops down or the spike ball, yeah, that's going to probably be the best tool for that situation. Something's buzzing around in the air a lot, yeah, you throw the triple daggers out, and that's one of them's going to hit him. That's probably a good option for that scenario. But it's all very scenario based. There's no objectively best generic one. Like, and this is from me just testing. Usually the triple daggers, which you might have found by now in Greymore. They're real close to you, I think.
I haven't explored a whole lot of Greymore yet, so haven't found them just yet.
I might be thinking of the Greymore map backwards. It might be after the halfway house.
Possibly.
So yeah, those are my generic holder one. When I don't know what I need, but when re-exploring areas, shards are so plentiful that I just equip whatever weapon I need that works best against the enemies there. I use the stupid boomerang a lot that you get really early on until I replaced it.
Shop, I think. Second shop.
Yeah, it's really really early, easy to get. But yeah, you can freely swap these out at benches whenever you want, and you can hold up to a cap of them every time you are traveling until you rest at another bench, and then Hornet will use the shards you pick up, which are the second currency aside from, well, not really currency, second generic drop you get from enemies. And you can hold up to a cap that increases depending on how many ammo pouches you have, which also increase the capacity of items you can carry.
Oh, okay. I only just realized that's what she was doing. Because there's a little 1 second animation of her kind of whipping around a wire on the bench, and I just realized that's her actually
making the weapons.
Making a tool.
Yeah, she won't do that if you have full ammunition.
Yeah, I hadn't actually put that together yet. So okay, it's kind of a neat little touch.
Yeah. So they're also not going to dramatically overpower anything from what I've tested. They all, due to their limited quantity and the cost of using them, your nail is, or your needle is still going to be the primary way of doing damage, and getting comfortable with the nail and whatever, or the needle and whatever moveset you have equipped is significantly more important than whatever tools you have equipped. The tools will just help, like dealing with flying enemies or fast enemies on the ground or stuff like that. That's what the tools are for scenarios that your moveset has trouble dealing with. But the majority of what you're doing both out in the world and in boss fights needs to be with your nail, because the tools don't give you any silk to heal or use spells with. That's their other big drawback. You don't gain any soul or silk to use for casting spells or healing. So they're a nice expansion to her kit. I like that there's more options when exploring and some decision making between rests, especially when organically exploring and trying to decide what's good for this area. Like, and with no guides out to tell me one is objectively better than the other one because we mathed all this nonsense out. It's all very based on the scenario presented in front of you, which I love.
Yeah.
Nail upgrades or needle upgrades are way less frequent than in the OG Hollow Knight and not nearly as powerful. Like, I think if the base nail in Hollow Knight did like 5 damage, the first upgrade would add like 3 damage to it, and you could get like 4 upgrades. I get the sneaking suspicion there are only 2 upgrades for the needle, and they add like 1 or 2 damage to it.
That's a bit little.
But that's like the boss will die 1 hit faster or something like that.
Yeah, it'll
nothing.
Well, with as many hits as some of the bosses need to take, it'll probably knock off about
because you said the fights are longer this time, didn't you?
Yeah, it'll knock off about 10 to 15 hits, but over the course of a full fight. But it is not nearly as significant, and you'll notice some trash mobs die in 1 less swipe. They'll take 3 instead of 4, but plenty of the time I've only got the first upgrade, and most enemies that took 4 still take 4 to kill. Very few drop down to 3, and almost none drop from 3 to 2. Which is a good thing, because if you fully upgrade your nail in the last game, it got kind of out of hand how easy it was to just pogo your way to victory. And how efficient it was and how powerful you were. Given that Hornet
it seems like as a general approach, they've sort of taken a lot of this late game stuff that they felt altered the experience from what they had intended, like being able to face tank things, like being able to womp things really fast, and just dialed it back.
Yeah. It still feels very much so like Hollow Knight boss fights. They haven't lost anything core to the experience. They've just taken the scaling a lot on these things, either through feedback or their own personal preference and testing after realizing a few of these things, stuff that would be obvious after a few playthroughs. They're like, yeah, the nail upgrades are probably tuned a little high, but it would feel awkward to go like add a patch to nerf them. So for this game, we'll tune it down a bit. The Knight's a little too tanky for especially the mid and late game. We'll make a few more stuff start doing 2 massive damage out the gate and get people used to it. But we'll make the healing more usable and allow them to recoup that way. Like, just general decisions like that all seem like very good decisions for the 20 hours I played. It's made it infinitely more enjoyable and has turned bosses that I definitely would have been able to face tank my way through in the first Hollow Knight into proper full challenges where I need to sit down and learn the moveset. So that's our gameplay there. And that's your general outline for how things go in Hollow Knight, or in Silksong. And so far, I'm having a super fun time with it. I just want to play more. The only problem stopping me from playing more, and why I'm running around and Genshin on the show, is all my lawn mowing and re-lawn mowing every time I get a new upgrade, or when I think something cool might be somewhere that I missed, means redoing chain pogoing sections a lot, and I have killed my thumb that I use on my D-pad. It is absolutely murdering me every time I press down on those buttons. So I'm playing a game that uses a stick.
Does the fancy DualSense have independent D-pad buttons?
If it doesn't, they are way more responsive as individual D-pad buttons. Like, I have no trouble getting the inputs on a DualSense D-pad, but I do not know if it's a unified D-pad that's just much better put together, or if it's properly separated buttons. But at least with Silksong, I've had no missed inputs whatsoever with the D-pad. Everything's gone exactly like I wanted it to. Aside from when I forget I'm now moving at 45 degrees.
Yes.
And go right into the spike pit.
Yeah. If you ever forget about the 45-degree angle, Hornet will dive into a spike pit. It's just what she does.
Pro tip: if you're 45-degree angle challenge, like my brain will occasionally slip into, I will go from nailing them perfectly with no shoe to just suddenly, what's an angle? If you're having shoes with it and your brain's just not in 45-degree angle mode, just get right over the pogo point before you dive, pretty much so that it's pretty much impossible to miss, and you'll get the same amount of height. Just get close to it before you press down an attack, and it won't matter that it's a 45-degree angle. If you're close enough, you'll still bop it. Becomes more of a usable tip once you get the slow fall. So yeah, there's still a ton of the game to go. My thing still says Act 1. I've not seen Act 2 pop up on the screen, and that stuck with me when the game first opened, because the very first thing you see after the opening cutscene is Act 1 Farloom. Like, oh.
Are you being memed on?
Like, how big are we, video game? Like, I expected, somewhere between, 35 and 60 hours for the first playthrough. And that was me expecting you to be colossal already. Are we even bigger than that? So yeah, I have full faith in Team Cherry as a developer. They've given me a game that plays super fun, with significantly more player expression than Hollow Knight had, with retuning to make all the bosses make you sit down and have to learn the movesets without feeling unfair, and still having that very simple, despite all these new additions to Hornet's kit, when in actual gameplay, Hollow Knight is a very simple game. Your combat options are very intuitive and obvious. You can jump, /forward, up, down, and you can /forward, up, down on the ground. Hornet has whatever tool you have equipped and whatever spell you have equipped. And that's it. That's really all you got, and the heal. Oh, also the movesets change your heal. Some of them have alternate ways to heal.
Oh, okay.
And they get really fruity. None of them have the Knight's channeled heal, though. I guess that's just, they have decided that was a little too strong, which I kind of agree with in retrospect, especially as if they're making this game, when they started making it anyway, for people that played the original Hollow Knight. So yeah, if for some reason people are listening to the show that are not our usual listeners, and you were caught in my Silk barrage, I skonged on everybody who didn't have it and was either on the fence or like, I'll pick it up later, just to pad Team Cherry's numbers. So everybody should have it. But yeah, it's 20 hours in, solid recommendation. Go play the game. Go meet the goodest boy. Go.
I think that I don't have what it takes to play a Metroidvania. I might wait for there to be like an interactive map like Genshin has, so that I can actually find my way back when I find my way into a place.
Yeah. Like, I got so far off the beaten path into, like, there was, I had no map for 3 zones, and then I wound up in just this very ornate looking, creepy orchestra or organ. It was inside of an organ, I think. I'm not entirely clear. And and I found a boss in there that was not hard, because I clicked with his moveset, but I can see a lot of people are going to have trouble with him, because he's a really fast boss. And was a lot of fun to fight. And I beat him, and then I saw this achievement for beating him glowing bright yellow, because less than 1% of the people that are playing the game had wandered off into Narnia like I had to get that deep.
Yep.
But that's the approach I've been taking with this game.
I fell off Hollow Knight after spending an hour literally just going in a loop and not realizing it.
Yeah.
I was like, this looks familiar. In fact, I think I've been here 3 or 4 times.
do your laps around the Forgotten Crossroads before you figure out you got to go through the side path and kill the bug.
I don't remember where it was. I think it was a green colored area, but I don't remember.
You got lost in Green Path. But yeah, and when I found the back door through my wandering into the Citadel, I realized immediately, we doing this. And because the player power scaling is toned back, you don't run into an issue I didn't think about, or really even think was an issue in the original Hollow Knight. But well, I guess issue isn't really the word because it's not a problem. It doesn't detract from how fun the game is, but it solves one potential niggle with it, and that the game was designed in a way where like all bosses in chunks of the main story progression had to be tuned around the same difficulty. But this means the ones you got to later were significantly easier in whatever chunk of the main story you were in, because they could not utilize. If you could get to all the bosses, like say Soul Tyrant and Broken Vessel, and all of them, they all have to be around the same difficulty because you can get to any of them before the other ones. But once you progress past them, you can step it up in steps. Because you'll be expected to have gone to all the areas, found some mask fragments, got some nail upgrades, got all the moves that come with those dudes, and so the boss fights can get harder and harder until you eventually get to the late game and the post game, and you're fighting, Grim when you're expected to have everything. But because Silksong keeps its power scaling in terms of the power you get for the player much lower, it makes in addition to making every upgrade feel much more meaningful, even though they're giving you less raw output than Hollow Knight did, and you're mostly just acquiring tools for the toolkit. It also leaves you without this shoe where you have to make all the bosses roughly the same power level. You can just make all the bosses maintain their challenge throughout, no matter what path you take, because Hornet's going to be not significantly stronger, relatively speaking, as long as she had the moves to get to where she was going. And they load you with most of the mobility tools like right away. They're the first things you get.
Yep.
So they don't have to worry about you not having it for most of the boss fights. You'll have everything except for like the grapple hook that I saw in the trailers. I don't have that yet. But it feels like I have everything else in her mobility toolkit. And I got most of that after like the first 3 or 4 bosses. So they don't have to worry about you not having that and can fully utilize the entirety of that moveset, as well as the fact that you're not going to radically outscale the bosses to make sure every boss is tuned correctly and feels good and challenging to fight, which is a big boon to Silksong that I've liked the whole way through, especially on this first playthrough. I'm very glad they did that. So just a whole lot of, if it seems like I might be coming down on Hollow Knight a bit, and after playing Silksong, and it really is just because Team Cherry is clearly learning that like they've identified things that fans of this genre would like to see done, whether they took it directly from feedback or whether they clicked to it after the game came out and they saw their own product. Doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is they saw it and they're like, we can improve that. We can make that better. We can make challenge be maintained the whole way through. You don't have to lose a bit every time you move through a section and a chunk of the game. We can move the upgrades earlier for mobility so that we can account for them being present on more bosses and have our bosses have more dynamic and fun move sets. Like we can set it up so that you can go really off the beaten path early and just go out in the boonies and be totally fine exploring if you want to. Somewhere you're clearly not supposed to be and get way over your skis and not have to worry because the player has all the mobility tools they need to get back if they need to. Like just decisions you make as an experienced developer making a sequel to a game and refining it almost makes Hollow Knight feel like a tech demo for the full release that is Silksong, with how much they've refined all these little things. And it feels really, really good. I'm a big fan so far of all the improvements Team Cherry has made to it. And time will tell how much of them sit and stick. Maybe some of the old ideas work better. I'll have to get to the end of the game and find out. I doubt it, because at least for me personally, because I generally prefer challenge to remain consistent or high, and enjoy learning boss fights and exploring areas that have a bit of teeth to them. So I imagine this will just be a even better Hollow Knight experience the whole way through, which is what I'm all up for. And yeah, that's that seems to be where we're at.
All right.
Any specific question? I know you played it, Fern, so you probably don't have that many. But if you have any questions about what might come later that you would like preempted without me spoiling you, I can help you with that. And
Nothing that's gonna. nothing that doesn't stray into spoiler territory, and I don't want to get spoilers. So
Yeah.
There's something I want to know because I've seen people talking about it on release day. Was that a lot of people said that the way the story is communicated is radically different.
the biggest difference right off the get go is Hornet speaks,
Yeah,
whereas the Knight didn't.
Hornet can talk. This means more of the story can be presented to you up front, but it's still the same flowery bug prose from the first game. It's just you are not. The Knight was a real good listener. Okay, he could listen.
The Knight was physically incapable of speaking.
Like he could sit there and be monologued at, and people just found him the most adorable little confidant, and would just monologue to him about every little thing.
The fact that it's probably the Knight had probably completely zoned out by that point is irrelevant.
Hornet is a talkative girl. She is
very formal
and not abrasive. She's not mean, but she's very mission focused.
Yeah,
like she's nice to bugs that are nice to her. But if somebody's wasting her time, she'll get annoyed. So there's a lot more communication from Hornet because she can talk. That's kind of a big change. But most of the story is still communicated in lore tablets and Hunter Journal entries, and you don't unlock the Hunter Journal until you get to Greymore, which is through the initial opening of the game, at least. It's about 5 or 6 hours in, probably, for if you're not being autistic like I was. And getting lost in the sticks, or in the swamp, or in the mist, or in the pipe organ, or the other swamp.
Yeah.
There are 2 poison swamp zones, at least, by the way. Because we couldn't let Miyazaki hoard them all.
What his best efforts to the contrary.
Yeah. I just love how it's functionally the same swamp. It's even directly connected to the other one. They just give the other one a name, just so they can have 2 poison swamps. But yeah, that's it's hard to tell exactly where the story's going. I imagine, like the original Hollow Knight, it'll take until the end for everything to really click together. Because until you fight the Knight at the end of Hollow Knight in the final boss, if you don't go for the true ending and see the way it acts in the fight, that's what it took for me to really click all the miscellaneous pieces that I had gathered in my playthrough together to figure out what was really going on. Because it's very not direct storytelling. There's a lot more talk from Hornet and a lot more talk from what I presume is one of the higher beings talking to Hornet, like it's their chosen representative. Yeah, and there are little lore tablets you can find that elaborate on the history of Farloom. Just like in the first game, you can take them to a girl in the Bell. You've definitely got to the Bell City and beat the Weaver if you're in Greymore.
No.
Okay, so you took a back door into Greymore.
I think I've taken a back door into Greymore.
Okay. Well, when you get there, you can that you're supposed to get to, definitely supposed to get to before going to Greymore.
Right, so I've gone off in the weeds now somewhere as well.
Yeah, this is the joy of playing these games before guides. you can just how you get through the game. It's going to be a little different for everybody. Yeah, there's another town, and you can turn in lore tablets there to get more lore on what's going on. It's still written in that same flowery prose, but you can put a bit together, and there's it makes things clear. Like, this is a sequel to Hollow Knight. The story happens afterwards.
Yep.
And
so did the thing about stealing the Radiant stick?
Hornet explicitly mentions at one point that she has seen direct evidence that some higher beings that call themselves gods can be taken down a peg by mortals. Basically, telling somebody that I don't care how big your for as britches your god thinks he is. I know for a fact you can shove those things in cans and beat them down.
Whether or not the knight counts as immortal is debatable, but yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know
the
which.
the one that eats all of it and then becomes a super being, he probably doesn't count as immortal anymore.
No, the one that becomes one with the void and becomes the Shade Lord. Yeah, I think probably the true ending to the first game is canon, where the knight doesn't become the Shade monster, and they fully destroy the Radiance instead of just shoving it in a new can. It can't be the shove it in a new can ending because Hornet dies in one of those and is put into a coma in the other one. So it can't be
So it's neither of those endings.
So it has to be the original true ending or the Shade Lord ending. I would not be surprised if they threw the Shade Lord ending from beating the Pantheon of Hollow Nest in there. That's a really, for those that don't know, the Shade Lord ending is the ending you get if you beat the Pantheon of Hollow Nest, which is all the bosses, all 50 whatever of them from the original Hollow Knight, including the DLC ones and the Dream variants, super hard Dream variants like Nightmare King Grim, back to back to back to back to back, and then beating the super hype, souped up version of the Radiance at the end, and the Knight turns into a giant void monster that completely obliterates the Radiance and absorbs everything in the dream space. And in the stinger for that, there is a stinger at the end of that ending where with the Radiance killed functionally because the Knight found a back door into the dream world through Godholm instead of going through the normal story way. You see the old Hollow Knight stumble out of the container where he was chained up before, and Hornet sees him and gets her nail ready in shock, and then it cuts to black. So that ending is possible, but I think it is much more likely as the original true ending, where the Shade of the Knight and the original Hollow Knight beat down the Radiance and then go back to being one with the Void.
And the Shade Lord will probably be in there as a secret super boss somewhere.
Maybe in the Dream World there is something. I mean,
alternate futures sort of expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that is just because the original true ending just feels very complete and good once you know all the context, especially when they added Path of Pain and clarified what it was, what the idea instilled inside of the original Knight was through a cutscene. That it was because his dad loved him and he grew affection for his dad. So it just feels better for him to be present as part of the thing, the group that takes down the Radiance at the end. But I don't. Who knows? They could go with either one, either the super secret Godholm ending or the regular true ending could be canon. Both fit and work well. But we will see. I'll have to progress further, figure out what's actually at the top of that citadel.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go play more Hollow Knight. More Silksong now.
I do too. So
I'm having a bit of a skip through because I'm not seeing any news in particular.
That's because it got drowned out by waves of Silksong, probably.
Yes, and the aneurysms that came from the release price.
So before we get off on Silksong, Vol, since you're not going to be playing the game anytime soon, so you are still tuned into the commentariat. Do you have anything that they're saying that isn't spoilers that you might want clarification on, just so you're not totally locked out of the loop?
Not really. Most people seem pretty chuffed about the whole thing, apart from the people who are continually shrieking about 2 masks this, 2 masks that.
Yeah.
No. Hornet already had the answer for that in the first game. Get good.
Yeah, pretty much. I think what was Ari Gibson's response to this is one of the few fan memes that he's actually responded to in like a Reddit AMA from 2017. Uh he said I think he said he thought the line was actually supposed to be get to, but he said it didn't have anything written down as to what that meant in bug language. So if the player so it's entirely possible that she's telling the player to get good. So he doesn't
Sounds like
deny
she's saying get good.
so he doesn't deny it.
Let's get good.
Yeah, so yeah, just get good. The game is not particularly challenging compared to, like what you think of when it comes to challenging games. Like it's got teeth to it, but it's not what I would call hard so far. The
It's just
same
not sweaty.
the same way I would view like Armored Core has teeth to it, but it's not hard. Yet. There is
Yes.
room to have the Nightmare King Grim style fight that is just going to lay you on your back and make you take it up the butt for like 2 hours, and you're gonna love every second of it. But
Don't know
GameStop
if I
messing
need
around,
that
time for
analogy.
paddling.
yeah, like that is still probably in the future. I don't doubt Team Cherry has included bosses like that, given the positive reception to things like Absolute Radiance and Nightmare King Grim and how much fun they clearly had making those fights. I
Which
would
is the thing with all the tentacles? Well,
all
they look like tentacles. I
the-
always see screenshots of.
what
It's always in
color?
the. It's like glowing golden thing, and it's always in the background. Takes up most of the screen.
Oh, that's the
Blind
Radiance.
Radiance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Radiance. And if it's super glowy, it's the Absolute Radiance, the souped up,
Yeah.
powered up Dream version that you fight in the Gone Home ending.
Yep. Lasers for days.
Yeah, like my favorite fight still is the Pure Vessel fight. There's nothing complicated about his moveset whatsoever. It's just it all flows together so perfectly that you need to be very precise with your movement. And it's not even a learning reaction speed in the first game. It's all about learning control and where you're going to be at any given point and how not to overshoot. And it's just a really fun dance to learn. So I hope we have more fights like that. When I've encountered a couple that are precision fights in this game, they just haven't been quite fast enough to demand a super high level of accuracy. But we will see when we get there. And that's Silksong. Okay, back to hunting for news. I didn't see anything, but I didn't look particularly hard, especially after Silksong came out, because I'm on media
You had
blackout.
other things on your mind.
I did. They were called Sha and Karama and Ren.
Well, I don't think offhand that I saw anything of note. Really? I think nobody was at their job, basically. They were all playing Silksong, so there's not really any news to announce to begin with.
Yeah, it's
I
kind
mean, there were a bunch of people trying to spin up hype for Borderlands 4, but I don't think anybody cares right now.
Yeah.
It feels very artificial, honestly.
it's a game that's getting run over by the freight train that is Hornet. Like I think Borderlands 4 is going to figure out real fast why everybody got out of the way of the cute little bug game. And you probably will see a lot of delayed discussion about Silksong because the people that are playing it, to play Silksong, you don't need to be a god tier gamer, but you need to play video games. Like video games need to not be a foreign concept to you. They have to be part of your hobby set at least to be able to make progress and be successful in Silksong or Hollow Knight. So the community that's going to play it isn't going to be like the Deltarune community or the Undertale community that's obsessed with how gay everybody is. Number one, and that's all
Sorry, I
you
just
need to be a fan of those communities. They're going to be actual
yeah.
people that play games. So you're going to see discussion on the video game end of things going for a while, I think, or it will trickle in. It may not seem as bursty or as all consuming as its initial launch hype, but the Hornet train is not going to stop for a while. It may slow down a little bit, but it's going to keep on chugging.
Yeah, because it's just one good video.
And it's a long video, so it's going to take people time to finish it.
Yeah. Even longer to 100% it or 112% it if we're going to do that again.
Well, it wasn't 112 until the DLCs came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we have a lot to say about this one because for once, one of the major hype video games is A, in at least one of our wheelhouses, and B, is from a company or a team that has demonstrated in the past that they care most about the video game first and the customer's experience with it instead of, how can we make our investors happy or how many disabled black trans women uh, of of Mexican descent can we? What other tick boxes can we stick on? How many tick boxes can we fill for a character, and how many of them can we put in the game? Like the priority here is video game.
Is game fun? Yes, no.
Yeah.
If no, hell yes.
Furthermore, what audience are we making video game for? Okay, we're making it for them people. They're not trying to make a game for everybody here. Which is another thing I adore about Hollow Knight. It knows what it wants to be, and it doesn't shoehorn in wacky, like, leveling up systems or anything. It doesn't belong in a game based around Metroid-style exploration and skill-based combat.
Yeah. That's probably the big place where AAA and things fall down is they try to make a game that will please everyone. Thus pleases no one.
Well, they just like add an RPG item system in there for no reason.
Yeah.
Looking at you,
Like whatchamacall, Darksiders 2.
Darksiders 2 as well.
Yeah.
You know what this game, this Zelda game needs? It needs to be more like World of Warcraft.
Just why?
Yeah, if it's not those, it's over tutorializing a lot of the Hoyo games, or trying to.
They use games journalists as their metric on that.
Yeah, like not everybody is the
and the games
opossum.
journalists understand it.
Yeah, like the opossum and the games journalists are not the target audience for most things that have the goal of being a video game. Ostensibly, you should not tune your game to it. Like you would be surprised, but most people can figure the game out just by pushing buttons.
Yeah.
And
push a button, it does a thing.
Yeah, and Hollow Knight just respects your ability as a player to push buttons and lets you go wander off in the sticks or do whatever the heck you want. And it just says, figure it out. Like, and just, that's such a rarity.
All right. Well, with the lack of news, shall we just wrap it up?
I think that is a good point to wrap it, because I've got Shaw on the brain again.
Yes.
I've been thoroughly terraforming Fern's Netland.
I did tab back in not long ago, and I just saw stuff on fire and Clee running away from it. Which is probably about the most Clee thing I could have tabbed in to see.
I managed to burn nearly all the grass on the plateau you were standing on.
Oh, that's real Kukusaur. I thought that was Fern.
Nope. Yeah, there's just explosions out in there.
They need to buff Clee.
They need to buff Clee? I'm sorry. Well, you're going to get Mama Clee soon.
Yeah, there needs to be a special synergy.
Yes. Clee and Mama Clee need to commit war crimes together.
Clee's mother Alice has several claims to fame, including attempting to create Tevat's first idol group by recruiting Barbara and Ayaka. One of them is that she's the only person to ever make Yaimiko cry.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Normally, Miko makes other people cry.
She was just a kid at the time because Alice is very old, so it's not really clear what the situation was.
Oh dear, oh dear. All right, folks. This has been your Garama for the week of Silksong release, and we will be back next week. I will. I do not know how far I'll be in this game because we genuinely don't know how big it is. I will give you a report on either game completion, depending on how much free time I have, or where I'm at, depending on how much free time I have. Because until I beat it, my free time is Silksong. I don't know how long Fern's going to stick with it. Hope he keeps making some progress so we can have some stuff to talk about. But
As long as I don't get dragged off in another random direction too often, I should be okay to finish it.
I won't know how far he's gotten because he has me blocked on Steam from seeing his game list.
I get harassed by TF2 scalpers constantly.
So
Maybe you should make a second Steam account to hold your Nexus 7 head.
There's nothing on that account, just the 7 head.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Maybe.
we will see you guys next week. Shaw and get good.